Okay, Leo, let me know when you're ready and then we can get started.
All right, yeah, I'm still messing with this camera, so hopefully I get it on in the next few minutes. I'm also having some difficulties, but
We can
um
be started without the camera if you like. But
yeah,
just
let's
1 second, let me confirm that people can hear. So we are having some technical issues. We do want to get started. We're very grateful for all of you to be here. We want to respect your time and honor that. The issue is that you won't be able to hear the speaker or won't be able to hear people online from the bigger speaker, just from the computer. So if anyone has an issue with hearing clearly, just let me know and I'd be happy to repeat it. I think it sounds good. Is that right? Were you able to hear Leo clearly?
Because I couldn't hear Leo.
No, you couldn't? Okay. Um, so I'll try to thank Mary.
I was able to hear Leo and I'm able to hear you, and I don't see anybody else. They may have their cameras off.
Yeah, okay. All right, we'll get us started from there. Leo?
thank you, Carmen, and good evening, everyone. I want to apologize for not being in person. I got double booked for a work call, so I'm really trying to navigate life. But gladly we have Carmen, our vice chair, who's amazing, and she'll be holding down the fort in person. But I just want to start off with introductions and then we'll get into the agenda. So once again, my name is Leo Jimenez. I am the chair of the Traffic and Transportation Committee, the Committee of Action and Advocacy, and I'm joined by my colleagues. You can introduce yourself, starting in the room, and then we'll go to Jim Berlin, who's online.
Rick Robinson, been on the committee about 8 years.
Hi, everyone. My name is Carmen Paulino.
Jody Horton.
James Bosley.
Mary Anderson.
And last but not least, our very own online.
Hi there. Might I suggest when people want to speak, they might want to come to near where Carmen is because, for example, several people were sort of muted and but as we're saying, we're doing the best we can, and I appreciate that. We all appreciate that.
Thank you, Jim. That's very helpful. I'll make sure that I'll ask the speakers to actually come up and speak closer to the camera.
But what can we do about not being able to hear them? So,
Did you not hear him?
Do you want to,
No.
I heard
I
him.
said I can
Really?
hear anything.
Mary, do you want to come closer? Do you want to sit here? That's
No,
probably,
it doesn't matter where I'm gonna sit.
okay.
You can't hear the computer.
She
No, but
says
if you
she
sit
doesn't.
closer
If
to
you
the
sit closer,
computer
you may
like
be
I
able
am,
to
I
hear
could
it.
move over, Mary,
Yeah.
and it might help a little bit.
The sound on the computer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the closer you get to it, the better.
No, we understand. Mary, you want to sit here?
I don't know. Let me see.
Yeah, no, I'll sit
I'm
there.
Jody.
moving everything.
No, you're good.
Moving everything, if I can't, if it's no better.
You're good.
So. Don't everybody shift yours, because it may not be possible.
Thank you. Hi, Leo, we can see you.
Hi, Leo.
But you're muted.
Okay, now we're good to go then. That's some good news. All right, so I guess we'll start off. So April and November are pretty interesting months at the board. This is the opportunity we get to receive a few applications to be considered for co-naming in honor of individuals.
Bring it closer.
Can you hear me?
Mary's unable to hear you.
All right, let
Very
me.
clearly, and we're having issues. Some of us can hear you. Mary is unable to hear you right now. And we
Okay,
don't have the owl. That doesn't help us. That's
yeah.
usually the louder speaker. So you can keep going.
All right, so let me try to speak as loud as possible so those in the room can hear me. Again, I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. April is a very interesting month. We usually have applications come in to the board for co-naming in honor of individuals, organizations. And it's one of those moments that we tend to hear out the applicants, and then as a committee, we come to a vote to pass a resolution whether we support or don't support naming or co-naming the street that they're proposing. So before going into, we have three applicants. We have Leonardo Delone, application, Donetta Riley, and William Billy Bang Thomas, I believe, who have submitted for this go around. So before we get into it, we're gonna allow each applicant to speak on the reasons they want to co-name the street. We're gonna hear some testimonials of friends, family, who support this, and then after the fact, we're gonna discuss it as a committee. Then we'll go to a vote. For this portion specifically, we will not take any input from the public. Again, if you do, as a public member, as a public attendee, want to comment on behalf of the applicant in support, feel free to sign up in person. And Carmen, as well as the other committee members, will facilitate that. If you would like to do so online, just leave your name in the chat and who you will be speaking on behalf of, and we'll take notes so that we can allow it. But just to kind of give you a overview, a background of how this works. So we have to follow some guidelines as a board. Obviously, we respect and we're grateful for all community members, past and present, that have come and, regardless of how they've done it, have left some type of input or some type of stamp, I guess you can say, in our community. But we do have some guidelines or directionals to follow. So each prospective honoree should have a minimum of 10 years community involvement, should have demonstrated an extraordinary and consistent voluntary commitment and dedication to the community, or have contributed significantly to New York City or nationally, where they live or otherwise identify within the community. There can be some exceptions, and we'll discuss that in the committee, especially if they're on the infamous circumstances of crime, accident, diseases, social circumstance, military service, etc. It's at our discretion. We want to ensure that the honoree has more than 2 years since they passed. I know that we have 10 years in our guidelines. It's something we'll discuss at the committee level. I know Jamila, who's online, can attest. The city council requires 2 years. I believe the board, we have 10. I think we've had some discussion in the executive committee, and I think 10 years is a pretty long time. And we want to mirror how it works at the city council level, especially since after we pass a resolution, it goes to them, and then they obviously make the ultimate decision. But yeah, there's just some very basic guidelines and rules. So without further ado, Carmen, if you wanna direct Leonardo Delone, the applicant, his mom, I believe, is on Zoom, Estrella. We're good.
Here.
She's actually here in person.
Oh, that's awesome, even better. And then I know she's with the principal from his high school, a couple friends. So we want to secure that we want to ensure that we let everyone give their piece. So Estrella, if you mind starting, and Carmen, you can obviously facilitate. I'm gonna have to jump off.
That's fine. Thank you, Leo. So we'll call Estrella to come up. Estrella, do you have a PowerPoint presentation, I believe?
I'm gonna speak and then he's gonna take over because I might get emotional, so.
We understand.
And read the letters of the people that couldn't make it here today. And everybody that's under my name in Zoom is his friends. One is in Miami and they joined us with Zoom.
And I'm just gonna ask you as we speak, we'll probably set up a chair. Here, I know it's very
That's the
strange.
speaker?
No, the speaker's on the laptop, unfortunately. So maybe,
I'm gonna give the back to you.
no, you can,
Okay, well, I can stand.
or stand,
Yeah, I'll
yeah.
stand.
Just as long as it's close to the laptop.
This is close enough,
Can't get much closer.
right? I don't have to give you my back.
That's okay.
The principal.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for joining us. Do you want
And Carmen, if possible, I'm sorry, if you can have Estrella get as close to the laptops just so that we can hear her online.
Yeah, I'm right next to, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Perfect.
Okay.
He's practically on top of it, Leo.
That's great. Thank you, guys.
Good, they can see it online.
You see this online?
Yes, we can see the projector. We can see the screen.
Yeah, it doesn't really fill the screen, but I can definitely see the screen.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Estrella,
Okay.
the floor is yours.
Yes, the motion adjusted to the, my name is Estrella Figueredo. I'm sorry, I'm gonna give my back because I guess they have to hear me.
You're fine.
My name is Estrella Figueredo and I'm the mother of Leonardo Delone. Leonardo was a genuine, good-hearted child. He left too soon. And even though you might think that he doesn't meet the criteria, I believe that he does. He's my hero and he's a hero to a lot of his friends. Ever since he was little, he had a passion for baseball since he was 3. And he's been in a baseball team forever. He was in the Rams in high school. He just had a gentle heart to everyone. And he always talked about wisdom. He encouraged people to be positive, to continue education. He used to pick up litter in the neighborhood because he wanted his neighborhood clean. He would take out the little branches in the Bennett Park so the kids wouldn't trip with their bicycle. He prevented one of his friends from committing suicide, which I won't name his name because he's young. He also had a little girlfriend, and he talked her out of when she met him, she used to smoke pot, and he talked her out of doing that because and I saw a text, I didn't bring his phone. Even he said, if you don't stop smoking, I cannot be your boyfriend because my mother's against drugs. He always gave a positive impact to his community at a young age. He left at 15. And you will see the letters that the principal are going to read. He did a lot for the community. And the most important, he did a lot for his friends. You know, he always talked positive and wisdom. He also helped one of his friends that was overweight, borderline diabetes, encourage him to lose weight, would exercise with them, help all his friends that wanted to become a baseball player, techniques. I can't emphasize more how Leonardo gave a positive impact to his community. So I believe that he is a hero, and he was always humble. He never did anything to like show off, even when he picked up litter in the neighborhood. In fact, he always helped the elders cross the streets. He helped them with the packages. I have here Migdalia Wynn. Migdalia knows him since he was born. She is 92 years old, and she came all the way from Corona, Queens, to support for his name to be in the street because she knows he always had a gentle heart and he helped a lot of the elderly people in the community. And if it wasn't important, she would not have come at this time of night in a rainy, cold day from Corona, Queens, and she's 92 years old. Now I'm going to leave the principal to talk because I get very emotional. And I can't continue speaking. So I'm going to give the floor to the principal. There's also someone in Zoom, which is his friend since they were little. He would like to speak before they play his song in the PowerPoint. he did a song. He was a little worried because, you know, young kids curse. He was telling me, is it okay to play the song? We're going to play it because he loved my son. He knows my son since he was born. They were friends. He's the best friend of my older son that's here. You know, and he did a song because it really affected him to see him leave so soon. Leonardo should have never left, but it was a freak thing after vaccine, and once he just got unexplainable fevers, a strep throat. He left. He still can't understand why. Thank you for giving me the chance to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Figueredo.
Sorry.
We totally understand. It takes a lot of courage to come up here, and we're very sorry for your loss.
Hello? Hi,
Hi.
I'm so sorry to intervene. If I could I guess quickly express my words before I guess the PowerPoint or what the principal is gonna show. I'm the student, I'm the friend that, is now in Miami. I go to Florida International University, which is actually a school Leonardo wanted to play baseball for. I was always his dream since young. Can you guys hear me? I'm sorry.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I go to Florida International University, and it's a school that Leonardo and I would always talk about since we were young. It was something that, due to his passion of baseball, he always wanted to come here, play D1, and we would always talk about, yeah, when you're here, I'm gonna pick you up. We go everywhere together and just enjoy our life. And, sadly, his life was cut short, which is a tragedy to all of us. I grew up next to him, right across the street. Um, my grandmother and his mother always had a very close relationship, and I always had a close relationship with Adolfo, his older brother, which then we became like a trio. We would always play the games together all day and night, always hang out, and just formed a brotherly bond. He was a little brother to me, and that's why it was just so tragic, and it hurt all of us. It affected us, terribly. And regarding, he was always a great kid. He would always, the street that we hope could be placed in his name, we would grow up there. We'd always get food during lunch, as it's near our old middle school. We'd always go there. He'd always be Leonardo he was a bright soul. He was always somebody that people would look at and, feel he would give warmth. He was always happy, smiling. Even if he had his days, he would, put it to a side, make sure everything is good. He always had lots of friends, lots of people looking up to him as, you know, he was a bright soul. And then again, I always said he was like an old soul because he always shared wisdom. He always shared inspiration. As I remember, he would always go with this one friend, Dial, getting into baseball, and a bunch of other kids, just always practicing there in the schoolyard. And I would join them and always see. And he was, even though I'm older than him by 2 years, I would see him as sometimes as older than me, with just the way he would speak, the way he would give me advice. And I would see him just as how I see his brother. Like, there was no, despite the age gap, it was always, and he was just an amazing kid. Um, the song that I made, I was getting into music at the time 2 years ago, and I would always send him little recordings of me, and he would always be there supporting me. And I guess his song was like a tribute to him, for him. And he was just a great kid. There's nothing really negative about Leonardo. He was a beautiful human, and that's why we're striving so hard to hopefully get the street named, the street where he grew up, the street where we'd eat his lunch, where we always go play after school, before school. It was just the street he grew up on, essentially. And that's just something we hope for. And we all love Leonardo. He was always gonna be with us, always in our hearts. And he was a beautiful soul.
Thank you, Lucas.
Thank you.
Before we play, I'm sorry, Lucas, and thank you for your testimony. Before we play the song, let's have everybody speak, and then we play the song at the end before we go into committee discussions.
Of course. Thank you.
Were you going to contribute anything? I'm sorry, Leo. Were you going to contribute anything to discussion?
Yeah,
Were you
we
going
got-
to?
The PowerPoint has videos from students, teachers, the letters.
So the PowerPoint, you're not going to say anything, but the power,
You have the packet, we gave the packet of everything.
right, we have that, but were you going to contribute anything or say any words? No. It's just the PowerPoint that follows after Lucas?
Well, I'm contributing my support for the co-naming of the street as well. From his short time at Manhattan Center, he was definitely a positive role model for his team, his baseball team, the kids around him, Miley, as shared with everybody. Yes.
Leo, there's other videos inside the presentation. It's not just a song. Can you hear me? You're muted.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, so let's go through the presentation, just so we can move it along, and then we'll play the song at the end. But we'll listen to the videos of the presentation. And if anybody during that time, I'm seeing some comments saying they're in support of this Cold Street naming. If there's anybody that needs to say anything, please raise your hand, and we'll do our best to promote you. We're having some issues, so I can't promote on my end, and I know Carmen's having issues promoting certain panelists on her end. So we're working as best as possible, but we can start with the presentation and we'll move on accordingly.
Great.
Started.
Thank you, everybody. Can everybody hear me on the internet too?
This may actually be a good time to plug this in. Otherwise, I'll have to get you to come closer.
Okay.
Yeah, I can actually hear him.
Okay.
Go on the camera.
I see all the beautiful faces of our committee, so the owls are-
Great. That means the owl camera works. Can you hear us?
Yes, we can. And we're in business. Thank you, Noemi.
Thank you. You can't hear it through here.
What you guys want to see right now is this, it's not you, right?
Yeah, that's fine. We can see it through here, but
And you should be able to promote it.
I just want to make sure that the
Something
audio is
talk
coming in. Leo, can you say something, please?
Yes, can you hear me? No?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I can.
Yeah, and I can hear the committee and I see the owl working.
Perfect. Yeah, we can see everyone in the background. No, before Noemi leaves, can she help you promote some of our attendees? I know we have some of our board members like Wayne Benjamin. I saw we have our second vice chair, Tanisha Grant. I saw we have representation from Councilmember Carmen De La Rosa's office and Jamila Sandoval. So we can get some of those promoted would be great.
I think I can do that now. It wasn't working earlier.
Okay, awesome.
The host was on another one, so give me 1 second.
Perfect. Yeah, I see Jamila got promoted. Wayne and Tanisha was on earlier, and she's still on. Yeah, so we can promote Wayne and Tanisha as well. That would be great.
They've all been promoted. You're welcome, Jamila.
Thank you, Carmen, for holding it down.
You're
Yeah,
good.
so let's continue with
Let's
the
continue.
presentation. Yeah, we have a couple more applicants, so we want to make sure we give everyone their time.
Got it.
Absolutely. So, hello, everybody. I'm Principal Coatry from Manhattan Center for Science and Mathematics. I was Leo's last principal before he unfortunately passed away. And we are here as a school to also support the co-naming of this street. We're starting off with a student advocate first, and then we'll go into some teacher advocates. The baseball team also wanted to share a message of support, and then we'll read through the letters for the committee to hear.
For the letters, if they have, it should be part of the application. If there's copies, just share with the committee. In essence of time, I will be here for quite some time. Any testimonials in person, we're more than happy to hear them. Or if anybody's jumping in the meeting and they want to give a few words, we'll obviously be very happy to hear that. But the letters, it's just And the letters should be part of the application package, so they just share them with the committee, Carmen.
Assistant principal want to speak? Can she?
Yes, of course.
I'm sorry.
You can just stand by here and face the
Sure.
crowd. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Hi, everybody. I'm Denise Winchester. I'm an assistant principal at Manhattan Center for Science and Math High School, where Leonardo was a student. I've been about 16 years.
You muted.
Yeah, we lost audio.
Can't hear. You muted.
Me?
Can you hear now?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank
Hi, I'm Denise Winchester, assistant principal at Manhattan Center for Science and Math High School. I've been at this position for about 17 years now. I have seen not only teachers and staff members, but also unfortunately, the worst of all, students pass away. I'm just here to briefly say I've never seen, I personally have not, I don't want to say it like this because they're all heartbreaking, but the passing of Leonardo definitely was a deeper impact than I personally have witnessed in the school community, and I've seen a lot, and I've been there again about 17 years. This is, it's hard to say, 'cause it's not to say others don't deserve, but I'm here in support of Leonardo. I do know that his team was devastated, his teachers devastated, classmates devastated, decimated the school. And again, we've had some things happen, so I do know, I mean, none of us can ever imagine what this mom is going through. 15 years old to have already made such an impact, and also in ninth grade. So this student was only a student there for a small amount of months. So, it's not like his senior year where everybody knew him. So in the short time, I've had students come up to me. So, and I'm not even like the guidance counselor. I'm the lady that pays the bills and organizes. So for me to know the impact is a special kind of impact and something deeper than I may have ever witnessed before, if in such an unfortunate circumstance. I do know that students have spoken about how he personally helps them get through hard times. As a young child, these are kids that were older than him, just couldn't grasp that he was gone. You guys can tell me when you're done if you want. I didn't know. Obviously, I'm here in support of the street co-naming. None of us would want to ever feel what his mom is feeling, and personally, as a mom, anything that we can do as a community to help make some meaning or some comfort in such a horrible situation, I feel would be so worthy and worth something, so that this young boy who did touch many lives can live on in the street that he grew up on in. So thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, we're gonna play it.
Yeah, so we're having some audio sharing detail, issues.
If it doesn't work, there's a possibility that we may not be able to play it, just
Okay.
also for the sake of time. We do have 2 more applications. We would love to hear this, but if it gives us a little bit more trouble, we may have to.
But if we can't hear the video, if the principal could read, because the letters are on the phone.
Sure, yeah. You can go through there.
This is for the
So
manual.
Can we try the principal's laptop to see if the audio will work?
No. I'm sorry.
I can't hear anything.
We haven't said anything yet. The audio's not working.
The sharing settings. So let me just pause this for a second. What ability do you have there? Right there. Maybe it's like that.
Yeah, stop.
For purpose of sound, can you just play on the laptop next to you? Yeah, yes. Can do that. We remember. Sure. Don't play up audio.
I'll play the audio as. Thank you for your patience, everyone. Is this where the speaker is? Okay. 3, 2, 1. That's good.
Hi, I'm Waverly, a student at Manhattan Center for Science in Manhattan High School, where Leonardo Dillon was also a student. I am asking on behalf of our school community that you please accept the street co-naming request we are making. I hope this presentation will help you get to know him more and understand why his contributions to his school and community are worthy of this lasting honor. Thank you.
So a little bit about Leonardo. He was born August 20th, 2007. He was born to a Dominican father and American mother of Cuban Spanish descent. He grew up in Washington Heights, where he was deeply involved in his community. He had an athletic love at a very young age, where he demonstrated his love for sports. He learned how to play baseball, later excelling on the field, and he became the quarterback for a school team at PS 187 from kindergarten through 8th grade. Beyond athletics, Leo's true gift was his kind heart and his willingness to help others. As his mom stated before, he consistently went above and beyond to make sure that even the school community that he spent a short time in was a better place. He helped the elderly, picked up litter, and made sure that his neighborhood was safe and clean. He was also a mentor to younger students, sharing advice and offering support wherever it was needed. Though his life was tragically short, Leonardo's influence continues to inspire those who knew him. His kindness and leadership remain a beacon of hope and inspiration to his friends, family, and his community. This is his baseball team.
I'm here with the Rams varsity baseball team, which Leonardo was a part of. He meant a great deal to this community, this baseball team, and this school. And we've dedicated patches on the jerseys for him, and we miss him dearly. We hope that you could please approve this street co-naming request. And although we can't be there today, we hope that you find it in your hearts to approve this. And thank you.
So unfortunately, the baseball team had a game today, which is why they couldn't make it here. We also have his teachers from the 9th grade who all taught him that year that he was with us, and they would like to share something with everybody.
Here are Miss Escobar, Mr. Barreto, Miss Benalcazar, Miss Tartaglia, Mr. Woodman, and Miss De Jesus, Leonardo's teachers. Would you please tell us what Leonardo meant to you and to the school community?
In the short period of time that I got to know Leonardo, he made an impact in my classroom and to me as a teacher. He's respectful in our class community. He came to tutoring every day, and that's how I really got to know him. He was a really, really great kid, and it's a terrible loss.
Leonardo was a really fun, nice kid when I knew him. He was always warm and welcoming. He also tried really hard in class, so a double-edged sword. I wish I would have got to know him for longer because I knew he would have done great things, but he was a really great kid. I missed a lot.
Leonardo was the light and the heart of the PE department. He came into PE every day class, helping out others, wanting to help set up the big gymnasium with me. And he was also a part of the baseball team, varsity baseball. He played third base. He was an amazing student, an amazing person, and he was the light. Yeah, so he was a bright student, very empathetic with his classmates. He was always willing to lend a hand and help his classmates. And he was also very involved in the school as well, when it came to sports and coming to tutoring. So yeah.
I agree with everyone as well. He was very friendly, very kind. That's sort of the big thing I remember about him. He was a very kind kid. He had a couple friends in my class as well. He was a good friend to them. And a very dedicated student as well, always willing to kind of do his work and sort of improve on everything he was doing in class. And I miss him as well.
Leonardo was a great example of kindness and respect. Everyone that came across him felt valued and loved, and he'll always be missed. As a school, we will keep on his legacy. On behalf of our school community, please approve this request to co-name a street for our student. Thank you.
So, as you're saying, Leonardo will always be remembered, and we're asking that you approve our street co-naming request so that others may be inspired by him like we were. And then going deeper into who Leonardo was, he was a mentor and a leader. He was a natural leader, as his teachers just said. He showed leadership in his life, both in and off the field. He mentored younger students and friends, and he offered them guidance, sharing his knowledge of baseball and encouraged others to do their best. He helped others succeed. Leonardo's leadership extended beyond sports. He was an example for others to follow, whether it was through his academic efforts, athletic dedication, or his commitment to being there for his friends. He was definitely compassionate and kind, as his teachers and his friends just stated. Whether he was helping his elderly neighbors, picking up trash to maintain a clean environment, or offering his assistance without seeking recognition, his actions spoke volumes about his caring nature. And he had a heart of gold. His selflessness and generosity left a lasting impact on everyone who crossed his path, even Denise Winchester, our EPO. And he made the world a better place by simply being in it and helping others whenever they needed it most. He is a source of inspiration. His resilience and dedication were key elements that made him a role model. He overcame personal challenges and always encouraged his friends and peers to keep pushing forward no matter what the circumstances were. And he has a legacy of positivity in the building. Through his actions, Leonardo proved that a person's positive influence can ripple through an entire community, inspiring others to strive for betterment and to lead by example. And now we have his letters of support from Christian Vasquez.
I'm sorry to cut you off. We're not going to go through every letter of support because we have another 2 applications to go. If you can put them on the screen and just kind of go through them so that the committee members can take it in. We also have them, the application packet. It should be on the table for you guys if you want to read through them. Just in essence of time again.
Yeah, I read these.
Yeah.
Can read all the rest, but you wanna read mine? To show how gentle.
I mean, I think maybe, Ali is here. If you wanna say hi to everybody, one of the letter writers. He is a former student of Manhattan Center. Just to say hi. He doesn't have to read his letter.
Yeah, if we have members that are coming as a part of the applicant, we definitely want to hear them. So please allow them a minute to give their piece.
But he was very affected. He was with Leonardo since pre-K. And well, he went to high school with him, and he had to leave the high school because he couldn't bear to go to the high school without Leonardo. And he had to transfer to another school. He's been his best friend since pre-K. So it's very emotional. He doesn't want to talk, but he's one of the ones that wrote the letter.
Yes.
But if you could read my names, because it shows how gentle he is. My son, I raised him to be a gentleman, and he never disrespected me in all his life. So I would like him to share mine.
If he has some words to share, we'd be happy to hear him. We already have the letters and we have all seen the letters.
Oh.
So for the sake of time again, we want to avoid having to read them all in person, but we do have them because we have reviewed the packet. But if there's any additional words that you would like to say in person, then sure, but
He's very emotional.
we understand. Okay,
So I think that we're gonna end with the song,
sure.
so that everybody can hear it.
And we were supposed to get 150 signatures, we got 200. We could have gotten much more, but I stopped at 200.
So Leonardo's family, friends, and school, thank you for your support and honoring his legacy by approving this request. And we're gonna end with the song from
Lucas, that's the one that
Lucas.
spoke from Miami.
Yeah.
They can't see the video because it's not working. Oh, you can play the video, just once he puts it away, so we can see it.
So that way they could hear it also.
No, I'm saying, he was saying just so they could see the emotions of it.
Oh, yeah.
He puts to explain, he puts E for Leonardo, LD, meaning everything for Leonardo alone, and then he puts LLL, long live.
This song right here is for you, bro. You know, it's everything for you. Forever your world. E for LG, long live LD. Rest in peace, bro. You know you my brother for life. I love you, bro. I feel that inside, and it's just one of those things you can't put the pain aside. And I just couldn't believe, you know, when I saw you die. That shit just fucked with my mental when I saw your mama cry. So baby boy, look over me when you got reply. When you died, I miss the times. I miss the times I was with you when the sun was shining. I miss the times we was laughing when we was only 9. I guess it was your time. Yeah, I'm through it. Yeah, I'm through it. It pains me to see you gone. I can't believe I gotta sing this song. And this shit just feels so fucking wrong. So for you, I'm about to just do it all. I feel this pain inside. Seeing your body left me traumatized. Rushing to the hospital to see you on my side. I see your face every time I try to close my eyes. I think about you every time I look up at the sky. And every time I think about you, I just wanna cry. So for you, baby boy, I'ma just try to shine. So for you, baby boy, I'ma just try to shine. I feel so empty inside, it just wasn't your time. And I'm so sorry that it had to be this way. But I promise I'ma live up to your name every single day. Oh, why couldn't you just stay? Why couldn't you just stay? And it's sad seeing niggas like that, cause you said that they got them. And I'm saying, stand for me when I'm here crying at the bottom. Be careful what you say, cause you know that they could be a problem. So baby boy, you know that I'm just write this message for you. And every time I close my eyes, I'm thinking about you. Thinking about you. So for him, I'ma do it. It pains me to see you gone. I can't believe I gotta sing this song. And this shit just feels so fucking wrong. So for you, I'm about to just do it all. I'm about to just do it all.
Thank you guys.
He wrote it, he saw it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Carmen, if there's no one else that wants to speak on behalf of Leonardo, I guess we can go into a committee conversation. With everyone in the room, and then we'll, in committee and board member conversation, we obviously want to hear the opinions and input of our second vice chair, Tanisha Grant, and our land use chair, Wayne Benjamin. So obviously we would love to hear you guys' input. We'll start a discussion amongst us. Before we get there though, just wanna, if we deny an application in the committee, and the applicant cannot propose or cannot come back to the board with an application for 5 years from the denial period. Something to consider. So we have applicants, and I'm sure everybody feels very strongly on the application. So yeah, I guess we can start any
Yeah,
discussion.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I have a quick question and comment on that, because you said if we deny it, they won't be able to come back until another 5 years. Can they withdraw their application based off, like, if we say, is that a possibility here or no, once we have it?
So Jim can give me some clarity, being the parliamentarian. In my human space, I guess I can say, I would be willing to once we have the discussion, give them opportunity to remove the application just to save face. But Jim, let me know if that's a possibility. If we have
Well, it sounds like, and I'm the parliamentarian of the board, by the way, and I've been on the board for a real long time, and I was chair way back when. It would seem to me, and then if anyone thinks that my thoughts are improper, please speak up, that we should have a discussion. And if in fact it seems, based upon this discussion, and I'm not about to predict where this discussion is going to go, that the application will be denied, then before we vote, the application can be pulled back, and that should not trigger the 5-year time limit, because it will not have been denied. That's my thinking.
I think that makes sense.
I align with that, Jim. So
it's consistent with what Leo said.
Yeah, I align with it. And then again, these are very difficult topics to discuss. I think as a committee and a board, oftentimes we hear a lot of these stories, and we feel for them. They were once members of our community, even if we never got to meet them in person, or their story just comes to light now. They contributed in their own way, and I think it's very special for the applicant and their family and friends to advocate for them. Unfortunately, we also have to do our job as a board because anything we do moving forward sets precedents. And I think that's something to consider on our end. Not saying, again, that any of the accomplishment of any of the applicants that have come to the board or are being proposed is not significant, but we do have some guidelines to follow. And I'll start the discussion with that. Does anybody have any input? Does anybody have any specific thing to say on this applicant specifically? So I guess I will start and I'll provide some direction. Part of the guideline, our guidelines and the board, and it's something to discuss in the future. I know I've been talking with Kathy and some of the executive committee. We haven't changed any of our guidelines in years. Some of it's very rigid. Some of it doesn't consider certain events that happened recently, so it's something that we should probably discuss the next couple months prior to the next Coast Street naming, which I believe is in November.
October.
But we have certain guidelines to follow. So one of it is that the person must be posthumous within 2 years, or 2 years out. So this application qualifies under that guideline. Leonardo, as we heard from his family, passed away tragically from some type of illness. March 2023, so he hits the 2-year mark. So that's one of the guidelines or directions to follow. The other one, and this is where it gets kind of hard and tough for our board and our committee specifically to discuss, is that you must have had some contribution to our community for at least 10 years. And not only have been able to contribute, but have proven contributions, community involvement. So I think that's where this one that's where we draw we're at the thin line with this one. because although we've heard that he's been an amazing kid, he reminds me a lot of who I was growing up as a kid. I was very thoughtful. So was he. You know, he clearly influenced and inspired a lot of his friends. You know, with how the things are going nowadays, we see our youth going down these dark paths, and it's always good to hear someone who kind of brings that light to pull them away from a lot of these bad situations. And clearly, he was a leader in his school. He was a baseball player. He did a lot for the community as a child would, right? A lot of children don't think to clean up our streets or to do certain things to help our community, right? Those are small intangibles that really set the foundation of what a leader in a community can be one day. So I think that's where it gets pretty hard for us when we vote on something like this. Is that when it's all said and done, the contributions were minimal and they're very impactful, but how can we as a committee take it without having concrete proof, I guess I can say. And again, I'm open to having a discussion. Tanisha, Wayne, jump in if you guys need to. I just want to hear.
Leo, if I could ask a question.
Yes.
Do the guidelines require that the contribution has to have been for a period of 10 years?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's sort of a sticking point, unfortunately, because
Yes.
you know, and again, I think all of us are in awe of what a wonderful young man he was, and you know, we all see and hear the great loss that, you know, the local community has had. But if the requirement if the requirement says 10 years, then it's 10 years, and we're stuck with that right now. So I think that, as Leo pointed out, may be a problem.
I just have something to add. Jim, thank you. To your point, and Leah, why I asked earlier regarding whether they would have the ability to withdraw the application if it appears that they may not meet the criteria, was because you mentioned something about the city council earlier. Can you just repeat for those of us who weren't on or had not joined in the room yet? Can you just briefly say what that was? Something about 2 years?
Yeah, so and I'll give kind of a little background to it, and Yamila can jump on behalf of Carmen, Councilmember Carmen de la Rosa's office, and speak as well. But so after we vote, whether we support it, if we support it, it goes obviously to general board. The general board votes, and then we pass it on to the council member's office. The council member takes it to the city council, and then they vote. And their criteria is a little more stricter than ours. So even if we say yes, they might say no. And the city council members, we try to, and I say that lightly, we try to mirror the guidelines of city council, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that make that final decision. And that goes to us having to change certain things. So the 2 years prior to recently, the board, we acknowledge someone, or we consider the application within 5 years of that they pass away. I know recently we made the switch to mirror the city council, because the council member needs 2 years at least, minimum. And Jamila, if you can add or chime in, that would be great.
Yes, of course. Hi, everyone. Good evening. What you said was correct, Leo. The only part is that once the city council receives the application. So let me start from the beginning. The council member made a commitment when she became the council member that street co-namings will have to go through the community board in order to get to us. We want to make sure that we're transparent with the community board, that we're working hand in hand, especially for these type of initiatives. But we're also like that with everything, right? Resolutions and any type of advocacy. If it passes at the community board level, it gets to sent to the council with the recommendation from the community board, and then they do an extensive background check. They check that everything that was said in the application is true. They check to see what type of involvement it was, what was the ripple effect of the person's death, because sometimes, and I'm gonna say this kind of to allude the fact that just in case the application gets withdrawn from today or in October, one of the criteria for the council is if the person's death had an impactful meaning and contribution to the community. So for example, there was one street co-naming that was passed when we first got to the council that a woman had unfortunately been murdered by her husband at the time, and that caused a ripple effect for her sister to start a foundation to help women who have experienced domestic violence. And therefore, so they created a foundation. She used to do marches. She would join other organizations that do domestic violence awareness, and that was the ripple effect. That was the impactfulness that death had in our community. To this day, that organization unfortunately right now doesn't exist because the sister is not feeling well. But it continues with other organizations like NIMIC, like DWDC, and others in our community. So the council does an extensive background check, and then they bring it to their parks committee, their parks committee. And if it passes the committee, then it goes to the actual stated floor, which is where the council member will be able to say her thoughts on the application, and then it could get voted by the council. So there's several steps after the community board that could cause any application to be denied. There has been several applications that have been sent back to us and said, I'm sorry, this is not enough information. Please share this with the family, and blah, blah, blah. So just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Jamila.
Thank you for that clarification.
So I yesterday I wanna again commend you as a mom, you know, and I was raised by a single mother as well. It's very hard to experience a loss like that, especially in the circumstances. And again, Leonardo seemed like he was an amazing kid, and clearly his impact has been felt and will continue to be felt. But I do want you to consider what has been discussed today. I feel like there's a way to go about certain things to make it happen. It might not be able to happen as soon as you think, but taking into consider Jamila's, you know, maybe starting a foundation with the help of the school or a program inside the school that he attended.
A scholarship foundation.
What was that?
The principal, a scholarship fund, okay. A scholarship fund. The principal started a scholarship fund in the name of Leonardo.
A student did, even better.
Okay, the student started it.
Yes.
Gave the idea to the principal.
Was this information included in the application?
I think I saw
it.
it.
Is it right?
I think I saw it.
It's one of the letters.
The biography.
Yeah.
You can see it.
Oh, you have it? Yeah, the paper.
And I believe in Ali's letter too, he mentions.
Does this application the scholarship have any impact directly to our community, surrounding community? I understand that on behalf of the school, somebody started it, but is it benefiting any kids in our community directly? Maybe a kid from 187 since he attended that school, or any programs? Again, the reason we want to make sure that prior to us voting or pushing this forward is that we want that whenever they do the investigation, as you heard from the city council's representative, that it ties back to the community. Again, if we're gonna be pushing to name one of our streets, we want to have direct ties to our community. And how long has this scholarship been going, right? He passed away 2 years ago. Has it been going for 2 years? Was it something recently? We need a lot more information. Again, I feel for you, but I want you to really strongly consider, because if we vote and the vote goes negative, it won't be able to come to our board for another 5 years. It's okay.
If I can make another remark, I have my hand up.
Yes,
you know, from what it appears, Leonardo does not meet the criteria for a street renaming. But on the other hand, and I think everyone as part of this conversation, as I said before, is just in awe of what a magnificent young man he was, what a wonderful soul he was. So, and it wouldn't be the same, but one thing the executive committee could do, and I think it would work at that level, is actually produce a commendation or a letter of commendation for, you know, Leonardo, commemorating his life. And, you know, it wouldn't be the same, but you know, we could well, again, you know, this is something we could work on. And I think such a commendation, and we can call it whatever we want, that would help memorialize Leonardo's life, and also, and again, I very deeply feel that you know, had he been alive longer, he would have been a leader like we on the board, and then like our council person and so on. So that's, you know, I sort of call it the next best thing. That's something we could consider. But again, it really doesn't look at this moment like, you know, Leonardo meets the criteria that we currently have. So I thought I would offer that as something we might, the executive committee and our chair might consider doing. Because again, I think, again, all of us are just so impressed with what an astounding young man he was.
I'd like to say something if I may. Yes, there is the criteria. Yes, there are the regulations. But I think as we as a committee who've lost a valued member of our community, if we can bring an ounce of relief to those who are grieving for him, I would forego the criteria for this moment, and maybe the council would have a different idea, but I would make an exception, and that's all I want to say.
I like that suggestion.
Well, the
James?
problem with exceptions is then you don't have any rules. So, you know, and again, as parliamentarian, as a former chair of this board, actually as a teacher who was a former teacher who was very involved with rules, because you can't run a classroom or a school without rules. I would not be in favor of waiving the rules, personally.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's we can discuss before the next co-street naming and it's up to us, obviously, as committee to restructure the guidelines.
Right.
And we need, if we want to get specifics, but at the moment, it sets a precedent. That's the issue with having this, being part of this kind of leadership, is that you want to make sure that we do things the right way so that future leaders that come into our board have the correct guidelines and not everybody, right, just being approved just because, so.
Leah, my comment, I agree with James, by the way, but I would recommend that they would consider withdrawing the application while we revise our guidelines. That's something that we said that we haven't done in a while, and if we intend to do that, try working on that and figure out what makes sense for our community. I'm not saying that it's going to be changed fully, but that's something that we did mention. We said, you know, it's been there for a while. We don't know if we want to change it. Maybe something you want to consider, and then have them come at a time if we do ever revise those guidelines. But I would hate for us to deny. I personally, will be honest, I will likely vote against it just because of the current guidelines. As there's another applicant, I believe, that also doesn't meet the criteria that we received tonight. So just for those reasons, and again, because it establishes precedent, but those are my thoughts.
Tanisha has her hand raised. Let me give her the opportunity. Tanisha, go ahead. I'm sorry, you had it for a while.
No problem. Hey, everybody. Just a few thoughts. My first thought is I kind of agree with Carmen to not submit the application so that we don't have to deny it. I think that we should, as a board, understand that when these rules were made, it was a different time. We are now on Zoom. We now understand that we are not a monolith. And I don't think when we was making these rules, we considered a case like this. So, you know, and, you know, just a little pushback on Jim, you know, Parliament rules and all of this, you know, very white facing structure has not worked for us all as a community. So yeah, let's get that into the record because it is very valid in this conversation. So I agree with Carmen. You know, Jim, you know, we do have a way that we do things, and Leo, that is true, but you know, a lot of things can be true at the same time, right? So I do not want to deny this either. I would feel some type of way, and I suggest that we as a board look at the rules and change them to make sure that when an applicant such as this comes to us to ask us to consider it, we can consider it with rules that we update. Because how long they been there? Huh? 20, 30, 40 years?
Yeah,
It's a whole new world. And we need to upgrade to accommodate our community in this new world. Thank
The
you.
rules were revised relatively recently. It was not 40 years.
Thank you, Tanisha. Jody has a comment.
First off, as a mom, my heart breaks for you. And your kid sounds amazing. And what your kid contributed to the community, to his school, to his teachers, to his baseball team is amazing. And my biggest concern in that he doesn't seem to meet the guidelines right now is that if we deny it and we look at our guidelines, like Carmen said, and change them. And they, in my opinion, it should be changed, because what that sign will do for the youth of this community is amazing. And not only will it for his friends, but for all youth in the community, if that sign went up. And so I personally would like to see the guidelines changed. And I would like to see you actually withdraw your application so that we could actually give you guys another chance.
Okay, yes, because it's actually his friends that had the idea, they wanted to see his legacy, wanted his name. That's why I went forward. Because as you can tell, this really.
Right. And that's a really important thing. And I just think that it's being overlooked right now.
Yeah, I would wish you went with what he said to like bend the rule. You know, there's always, I mean, I understand and I raise my kids, there's rules and regulations, you have to follow them. But sometimes we need to bend a little because, not because he was my son, but as you can see, he was an amazing child. Since he was little, he was amazing. And he always followed the rules. And I know his friends would love to see his legacy continue.
What I fear, I personally, I would approve you. But I feel that probably because you don't meet the guidelines, most people wouldn't, and so it wouldn't pass at the general meeting.
Okay,
So that's what I'm
make a
concerned about.
suggestion, and hopefully you get to change the rules before the next hearing.
Well, yeah, I'd love to do that, but I can't.
No, we're,
Yeah.
and I'm sorry to interject, and
Bruce has a comment. Leo, I'm sorry. I don't know if you were about to.
Have you put up a plaque at 187 on the fence, or there's a little park right there at 187 in Pinehurst where you could put a little memorial? Have you considered that?
Well, we could do that, right? I didn't think of that, because, you know, as you can see, just seeing him on the screen, I get too emotional.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with Jody. He's a wonderful kid and he deserves to be honored, but there are other ways to do it besides the street naming.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay, I will.
Build up the foundation some more.
Okay.
You know, show a real grassroots effort to get money into the foundation and maybe come back in a year or whenever and try again.
But there are kids from 187 in the high school.
Yeah.
So, I know the principal will help me with that.
I also.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Jamila, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I just wanted to say one thing. I know we're gonna, the mom and the council member will be meeting this week. So we'll most likely have that conversation in the meeting, but, to bring it up to, what was just shared, there is a healing garden that is being developed, slowly but surely in the Highbridge Park, but on 189 side that, Uplift NYC actually does. And it's for people to plant plants and honor their loved ones. And it actually started because of the devastating car crash that caused 3 young people to pass away last year. And they were around the same age as the son. And Uplift created that just for our people to go and have a place to heal. So that is a suggestion that we most likely will make. And also there is park benches, and we can discuss that further, that are semi-affordable, but can also be discussed.
I just want to chime in, and I guess we'll move on. We'll give Estrella the opportunity to rescind if she needs to. But Estrella, I think the recommendations you heard today are wonderful. Again, just because we're giving you some type of advice or recommendation doesn't necessarily mean that we would not like to see this application come again to the board. I think that it's beautiful to hear that the school and students have put out a scholarship out there for other students. I think that's a huge way to show some type of impact. If the school can help you cater it to provide scholarship money to 187, since that was the school he went to for his middle school, that would be even better as it contributes to our neighbor directly. And I do think that you should consider, obviously, naming a bench or planting a tree in his name. There's other ways to memorialize and commemorate them. But I do want to see this application again. To Jody's point, I think she brought up the best point tonight. Seeing the impact that he had can influence other kids to do the right thing. And especially with today's day and age, a lot of these kids don't have the correct guidance or the mentorship. They tend to go off path and do horrendous things and cause a detriment to the community. And clearly Leo was on the right path. So I don't want you to think that we do not want to consider him in the future. We do. We just need to make sure, and obviously we will have the discussion on the guidelines. Something that I mentioned in the beginning of the meeting. It's something that Carmen has brought up, Tanisha, Jim himself, and the rest of the committee that we want to be able to discuss, because as the world is changing, we also want to consider specifically for special circumstances to our community residents and patrons that have had some significant impact. Regardless of the age, regardless of how much time, obviously he didn't have a lot of time here with us to be able to show those contributions and impact. So it's not fair to him that we can't tell him and show him how proud we are naming a street after him. But again, we're not saying we're not going to consider ever. We just ask that you rescind at this moment so that we can go and work on our end at the board. You guys can pick up some traction with that scholarship funding, and we can come back at a later date and have a better conversation and honor him for what he's done and the impact he's had on everybody's life, and including us as committee members who, again, we don't often tend to hear about kids doing these type of things. So just want to say that, and I guess after that we can allow Estrella to consider it. If not, we're going to vote.
So
Yeah, I will withdraw it.
you will withdraw the application.
And
Okay.
you said the garden, is that the garden next to PS 187?
It's where Cabrini and Pinehurst and 187 Old Jewel. Where the old folks sit down.
Well, not the old folk, because I sit in there too. So
I'm an old folk and I sit there.
sit in there, because I grew up in 734 Washington. I've been all my
Okay.
life.
But I'm sure you can get the Parks Department to allow you to put a plaque in there because, it's just a good thing.
Okay.
So
Or
just,
even at 187 on the building or I don't know where you would put it,
But
but
I know there's a little garden next to PS 187.
well, you know better than I do then.
and the one mentioned by Jamila from our council member's office is on 189th Street in Amsterdam. So
And
for those,
you can continue reaching out to us, and we'll connect you with who we need to, so we can obviously keep having the conversation. This is not a goodbye. It's more of let's work together to bring this to fruition one day.
Okay, Leo, so I guess you will let me know when the criteria change and then I'll come back.
Yes, yes, we'll be talking about it in the next couple of months, so you for sure will hear about it.
And I want to thank you all for listening to me, to listen to the principal. And I know a lot of you guys probably would have voted yes if there wasn't a criteria.
thank you so much, Ms. Figueredo. We really enjoyed hearing about Leonardo, and we wish things could have been a little bit differently, but we hope to see you again in the future.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll move on accordingly. Agenda item 2, I believe, for the Coast Street naming is Miss Donetta Riley.
Donetta Riley. Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Do you have anything that you're gonna present on the computer, or you're just speaking?
I'm just speaking.
Wonderful.
So I have all the materials that I submitted. I don't know if everyone can hear me.
We have them. Everyone should be able to hear you now.
Thank you again for
Thank you so
everything,
much.
and I guess Leo will get in touch with me. And thank you for your kind
And
words.
communicate with Carmen De La Rosa too.
Yes, I have a meeting with her April 9th. It was, it was for tomorrow, but she changed it to the 9th.
Okay.
So I'm gonna meet with her.
Thank
And
you so much.
so much, sir. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Naomi. I think we're good.
Okay.
Speaker needs to move further from the camera because we can't see him on Zoom.
I'll just sit down.
I mean, we're stuck with technology the way it is, but you know, I'd love to see you. I think we all would.
All right, I'm right here. Can you see me?
I see you, yes. And
Okay.
eventually the Zoom will see you.
Great. Okay. So my name is Roy Koshy and I'm Donetta Riley's spouse. So I'll just say up front, Donetta Riley passed away last year, March 20th, 2024. So I know the guidelines say 2 years, but she passed from disease. She passed after a long battle with breast cancer. So that was an exception in the community board rules that are current right now. Anyways, so the reason that I'm submitting a street co-naming application for Donetta is that Donetta was a longtime arts and music educator in this community who really impacted the lives of hundreds, if not thousands of children for almost 20 years before she passed away. So Donetta, she moved up to the neighborhood in the late 90s, but she began teaching Music Together, which is a Mommy and Me music aptitude program. She began teaching that in 2003, but then she also started running the Music Together program up here in 2006. She started teaching in 2006 in Washington Heights and then ran the program since 2008. And so basically, like, not only that was she ran that program, she taught a lot of children. She also did arts education. She, number one, taught at PS 187, actually, which was mentioned when they didn't have an arts program. She ran that arts programming both in person and then during the pandemic on Zoom. And she created a lot of, even like when we were in the pandemic and people could not get together, she created a lot of immersive art assignments for the kids. Often like using the Fort Tryon Park or the Bennett Park. She used a lot of different locations within the neighborhood. Here's why. I mean, this is just, I hope you've been able to review a lot of the applications, but I'm just trying to give like an overview of why I'm doing this. It's not just about like having fun with kids. Just about every day since she passed away, I have someone telling me about how their child was too shy to sing. Their child was too shy to use their own voice, and she helped bring that out in them. Their child never considered art. Their child never really thought about it, but then she basically like imbued a sense of love of art and curiosity about the world around them. And she really like actually worked in her educational, the pedagogy she offered. It was about children trusting their own voices and discovering their own voices and using that and understanding how important that was. And so one of the reasons also that I think this is valuable beyond me and even like anyone that she knew is that this was someone who came from a poor background in Eastern Kentucky. She made her way to New York City and she used the artistic skills that she developed because she started out as a singer and an actor, but she used all the skills that she developed to serve the community and to teach children here. So she basically, and as you know, she taught Music Together and she did the arts programming. She also developed skills as a balloon artist and a face painter as well. And so she created a lot of immersive birthday parties because she ran her own birthday party business as well, kids' fun parties. And so she basically, all the skills that she ever developed, she gave it back to the community. She made sure to share those skills with children to help children develop their own aptitude and their own skills and their own artistic voices and development. And so if you've seen the materials, we have a few different testimonials and I have some people here on the Zoom and I have a couple of people here in person who also would like to testify about why the street co-naming is after Donetta is good for the community. I'm a little all over the place. I'm sorry because it's
No worries, I understand.
Yeah, Carmen, let's allow each of the participants to speak for a minute so that we can give everyone some time and then we can go into discussion in essence of time.
okay. Does anyone, do we want to take in person?
Let's do
Or-
in person and then we'll do Zoom. Or Zoom in person, Carmen, up to you.
Yeah, can we do Zoom first?
Okay.
Whoever is online, can you just raise your hand so I can promote you and allow you to speak? I don't see anyone raising their hand.
You have
Oh.
Kirsten Hopkins.
Yeah, okay. Hi, Kristen, you should be able to speak now. Thank you so much for joining us. And you're muted.
Hi, everybody. I just want to say a few quick words. I used to work for Donetta. I first went to her classes as a nanny. So I've known her for many years, and then I later became her employee. She made a huge difference in my life personally. And I truly also, as Roy says, like I run into people all the time around the neighborhood who reminisce about Donetta and whose lives were changed, whose kids' lives were changed by her, and her promotion of the arts and just her joy and like huge personality and hilarity. She always spread laughter and joy throughout the world. So throughout our community, especially. So that's all.
I did also want to add something that there is a bench dedicated to Donetta at PS 187 in that garden near the koi pond. And the Pied Piper Theater Company, which is a children's theater company, also dedicated their most recent performance to Donetta's memory as well. So I just wanted to mention that as well. And I have that in the application materials. Sorry.
Thank you so much, Kristen. We'll move on. I see another hand raised. HK Dunstan. HK, you should be able to speak. Can you just say your full name, please, for the record?
Hi, this is HK Dunstan. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to say something about Donetta. I'm a parent who had Donetta at basically every single one of my child's birthday parties, and I know I'm not the only parent in the neighborhood who felt the energy and the joy that she brought to every single party. The kids that when they saw her coming would start jumping up and down. And she had this thing where she would do like, okay, now we're doing face painting. Oh wait, now we're doing karate. Okay, now we're gonna sing. And it just the energy and the joy and the impact that she had on people's lives. I kids years later would see her, my daughter would see her on the street and sort of like shyly look at her feet and be like, it's Donetta. She was kind of a celebrity. And I think there are just so many children in the neighborhood for whom Donetta was this larger than life character and person who just meant so much to them and brought so much joy to their lives. And I think it's just a really important thing to be able to recognize that and sort of remember the joy that she brought to so many people in the neighborhood. So thank you.
Thank you, HK. Is there anyone else online that would like to speak? If so, please raise your hand in the chat. Okay. I don't see anyone else, so I think we can move forward to those who are in person. Maybe you can come up, please. Hi, Angela.
Hi, how are
can
you?
Just introduce yourself.
Thank you. Sure.
For the record.
Sure. Angela Fernandez, and I live here in Washington Heights, and I'll be very brief. So I have known Donetta, or I knew Donetta since 2006. I was at that time the executive director of Northern Manhattan Coalition for Immigrant Rights. Anytime we had an event or a block party or anything that we were doing work in the community, I would ask Danetta if she would be available to be able to engage the children. Our meetings were with adults, but many of the adults would bring their children. And as you heard before, she had a business. She could have charged me. I actually would say to her, we're happy to pay. And she would refuse every single time. So that just goes to show you the commitment that she had for the community and the commitment she had for the immigrant community. It was something that actually was very dear to her. She was continuously calling me, asking about what's happening. Is there anything else that we can do? During the first Trump administration and even before that, because as we know, immigrants have been under tremendous pressure for many, many years. So that's one. And then the second piece is that my child was in Danetta's music together class in 2006. And then my child also went to PS 187. And I saw the impact on my child after those classes. And recently, my child had saw a very obscure painting of Picasso. And they said, "Oh, that's a Picasso." And I was like, "How did you know that?" And they were like, "Ms. Danetta." And my kid's 18. So this was like, that's the level of impact. I know my child is not the only person that had that kind of that Danetta didn't have that effect only with my child. It was with many, many children. Danetta helped thousands of kids, thousands. We went door knocking to get signatures on Fort Washington Avenue. And I would say, I don't know, 2 out of 10 doors that we knocked on, they would say, "Oh, Danetta, yes, my kid, worked with Danetta." So that's, when you go door knocking, that's a little random. And I was even surprised by that. So anyway, that's what I just wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have the next person come up.
Hi.
What is your name?
My name is,
For the record.
my name for the record is Debbie Nabavian. It's so nice to see you all. I'm Miss Jean. And I'm sorry, I might.
Waving at you.
Yeah. Hi. Wish you were here in person. And I'm sorry if I'm not as organized and like prepared something, which usually I do. For those that don't know me, I sat on this committee for a lot of years. I've seen my share of co-namings. I cannot describe the impact she's had on the community. Those of us that knew her well, those of us that knew her not as well. Truly one of a kind. And a certain kind of New Yorker that I have worried we don't make anymore. Not that involved in the material world, just coming from a place of generosity and gratitude when she was the one doing us all the favor. I mean, for anybody that's like, just imagine, I moved here after my kid had done her music together. So I just missed the cut. But that's just legions of kids. When my kid went to 187s, and during that time I ran a not-for-profit that sat side by side. It was not the PDA, it was a side-by-side not-for-profit that tried to raise money to supplement arts, primarily arts programming, which certainly during the years that we were there were were low days for funding for our public schools. And so there was no actual art teacher or music teachers or art teacher in the elementary school, and like every school in the district, certainly, there were shortages. And we hired Danetta to do this program with the KN1. And that's where I was first introduced. But like Angela said, there was not a non-for-profit that didn't, and I know that there had to have been things up in Fort Tryon Park where if you asked, she was there. I had many arguments as president of like, Danetta, you need to charge more. But she always acted like like we were the ones doing her the favor. But what is astounding again, and I've seen her in these where we've hired her to entertain kids when adults needed to have meetings. I've seen her in her classes. In a million different settings. And I think what made her have so much impact with kids is she was one of those people who wasn't like, oh, she knew how to talk to kids. Like, she respected kids. And she respected all of our ability to be something and to matter, no matter what shape you came in and what color you came in and what anything you came in. And she just respected each and every one. And when time would run out and they were closing the doors and she had still had 10 kids who hadn't gotten their balloon or whatever, she just stayed and stayed. And I gotta tell you, we are so much poorer for this spirit to not be on the planet of all damn people. For adults, you know, that's not what this is about, but when I heard about this and another person who was really active in working on this with Roy and with Angela, stopped me on the street when I was in the middle of my own crisis and was like rushing somewhere. And I thought, oh my God, now this is a co-naming. I said, we should all be so honored because boy, she honored us. So I don't know, I'm sorry, I'm rambling, but she was really, really something. And I know Roy probably shared it, but it was interesting to me, just being on the neighborhood, like Facebook pages and all that good stuff. It was just like, there were various threads and it was just coming from far and wide. And every single post had like 200 people reacting and 100 people commenting. And it was just like, wow, because year after year after year across all this time, she just always impacted every single small human and their adult. So I really hope you can make it happen. She's worth it. We lost not having her. I was about to take somebody's phone.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That's great.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak or share some words? No? Fred, if you can just please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Fred Silva. Not planning on speaking, but of course, I moved here 12 years ago. And so 12 years ago, my kids started with Donetta and the music together and the parties but I also saw how she affected everyone and cast a very wide net. So full support.
Thank you, Fred.
If we don't have anyone else, I guess we can go to discussion and a vote. Carmen. I just want to say, it's great to meet Debbie. It's been a while since we've been graced through her presence, and Debbie, a great leader to this community, was the chair for traffic and transportation for years, and a lot of how I am, what I've been taught, was through her. So I commend, thank you, Debbie, for always showing your advocacy.
I know you guys have been doing great. Sorry I haven't been here earlier, so. Just keep hearing what a great job you're doing.
Thank you. All right, so we can discuss. So similar to our discussion earlier, it goes down to the guidelines. But I want to get into a bit more of a discussion with this one. Donetta passed about a year ago, March 2024. And clearly, it doesn't fall within the guidelines, but I think her impact extends beyond it. And that's kind of where I am with this application. I know that we discussed setting precedents, and yeah, I'm just open to hearing what the committee has to say in regards to this applicant.
Is Jim still on the call?
Yep, I'm still here.
Someone mentioned, and pardon my ignorance, if someone can clarify, maybe you, Jim, can clarify, What was the exception to the 2-year rule?
I have it here in the application.
Has this come up before?
Yeah, it has. It's pretty much if it's some extraordinary circumstances.
Want me to read it?
No, I have it. I wanted to hear it from Jim to see if it's come up before and just, get some clarification
No, that's
and
fine.
see how we've handled this before.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's under infamous circumstances of crime, accident, diseases. So
Since you asked, this is sort of an interesting thing because on one hand, she has not been away from us for more than 2 years, using a
Right.
euphemism. But on the other hand, her contribution it has been going on for years and years and years. So it's a little bit peculiar, but on the other hand, what we, again, since we sort of suggested this with the previous applicant and they accepted the suggestion, and since the 2-year anniversary will be relatively soon, I believe, this is another situation where it may be appropriate to withdraw the application and then bring it back to us when the 2-year period has been met. And then it sounds like from, again, what I've heard from everyone speaking, that this would most certainly be approved. That's what I believe.
I have a
We'll have Roy first.
Roy?
So I'm looking at the guidelines right now, the current ones, and in the third bullet point, it says on page 1, exceptions may be made, however, for individuals who die under infamous circumstances of crime, accident, disease, social circumstance, military service, or the like, where the death leads to a greater awareness within society of the cause. So she died from disease. So I just wanted to point that out.
That's a point well taken. And I would not, especially since you pointed out the rule, and I believe it's been done before, that because of that, we could grant an exception in this case, if that's what the committee wants to do.
Debbie,
yeah, I would like to hear from
Guys, first of all, it's not really exception if it's contemplated. And my understanding of the reason why it's there relates to cases where, if you have somebody who maybe had something shifty and then it sort of gives time for it to work out, wasn't that the genesis of that? That's not what this is. And it contemplates the disease thing. And my understanding was, y'all told him to come now, because that was the first question I asked Roy when he had, when I heard about the whole thing, and I wrote it, was so it's met the time thing, and he said, yeah, you told him to come at this meeting. I don't see what you would get by delaying this, or, do you know what I mean? What's it, I don't know what you're getting, to me, the last situation wasn't just about the time. The last situation had to do with we do get it, we always did get in these situations where it is devastating to a family and it's tragedy, but we still are the community board. And so we have this specific cut on recognizing. And so when it's not somebody who was active in the community, then it gets a little bit more difficult, but that's hard to tell people who've suffered a great loss. But I don't see why you would apply it here.
So,
let alone that it's contemplated there to not have to, or just maybe can you vote, can it be voted on? And then you just don't submit it till the next council cycle or something like that.
Again, I have no objection to the committee granting an exemption, and it sounds consistent with the rules. Let me make that clear.
So Jamila just posted.
Go ahead, Leah.
Sorry,
I
Jamila
was just gonna
posted in
share
the-
that, so you can go.
Yeah, she posted in the chat that the council does not have exceptions for less than 2 years. Jamila, can you give us more details on that? So if we were to vote on
Yes.
it, if it passes at the board. go ahead.
Yeah, from my understanding, and this is something I'm going to ask, following this meeting. From my understanding, they do not make exceptions for, anyone who has been deceased for less than 2 years. I know there might be some exceptions, but I do not know the guidelines for that. So I have to ask. But I have not seen it outside of one street code naming application. And that was, Jason, who was the officer that passed away on duty. That's the only exception I've seen so far. But I'm gonna ask so that the applicant has more information.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Can we wait to get the answer from Jamila and Carmen's office? And I know we only have set dates where we consider code naming, but under the circumstances, I think it would really behoove us to get that clarification before we send Roy away, or have him submit an application that's gonna be denied on automatically. So is that a possibility for our committee?
I agree with James completely. I guess that was my initial concern, which is the reason why I asked what the exception was. But if the city council doesn't make any exceptions to the 2-year rule, I don't see why we would even submit it for them, because then they can't come back to us. I guess they would have to wait 5 years. So then it delays the process in its entirety. I also don't see what's the issue in just waiting it out for 1 more year. I guess can you just share a little bit more about that urgency on your end?
Can I just ask a follow-up question?
Yeah, of course.
If ultimately it is to submit it next year, so it would be April of next year.
Right.
Would the signatures that were collected this year still be valid, or would there have to be a whole other collection of signatures? Because, that, we got over 300 signatures, and that was Roy, myself, and a couple of other community members working every single weekend.
Yeah, I would say that we should still take it as valid. I mean, people still.
As the parliamentarian and former chair, I agree with you that there's no reason that these signatures, because they're old, should be invalidated.
Right.
And yeah, because they would only be 1 year old.
Right.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Can I just ask Jim, can we just consider, and I'm confused about what you were saying, Debbie, but could we possibly approve it and then hold it until the 2-year point and then submit it to the council, or isn't that what you were suggesting?
No,
Debbie?
yeah, maybe that's an idea. I just think then we should have, I don't.
I hear
like,
you,
should
Debbie.
calendar it. I mean.
I hear you.
It would have been helpful to know.
But and again, the substance of it, and then, again, as long as you're using the whole presentation, but don't put them through the ring. I mean, then I also and I feel bad, because I told, the fact that they could have put up an online petition, obviously gotten 1,000 things, and I was like, the fact that you have so many people that would be happy to sign in person, and they went out and got all these in-person signatures, let's just keep focused on the substance of what we're trying to do. And so, but I don't think anybody wants to see it get dinged to the council. I didn't realize that bit about.
Yeah, and just one more thing to add. I mean, Jamila, just wanted to share that definitely, I think something like this, if we had known that the 2-year thing was gonna be an issue, then we would have just waited to do all this next year.
Right,
And we had conversations with you, we had conversations with the city council member. We met with Kiana. That didn't come up at all, and we shared that she passed away a year ago.
Yeah, I'm sorry that was the case, and I'm sorry, we definitely don't want to waste anyone's time. I think it's a great application. I think she definitely deserves the co-naming. I just think in light of what we've been discussing tonight, in light of the guidelines, we want to make sure too that we're not hindering her by approving something that will get denied at the next step.
No, and I appreciate
And we want to make sure that we're just doing that. Jamila, you had your hand up again, or is that an old hand?
I believe Angela was the one who spoke. She brought it up. I just wanted to ask if that wasn't shared when she met with Kiana. Because
we had a Zoom meeting and it wasn't shared.
Okay, because from my understanding, did you guys also receive our guidelines from the council?
No, you're saying in which direction? They knew when Danetta passed.
Yeah, I don't have the notes in front of me, but I'm almost positive that we did share with Kiana that she passed a year ago.
Yeah, I think we did.
shared that she passed a
Yes.
year ago of breast cancer and made sure to put that out there as in thinking that's the exception.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't remember.
But it's
hearing-
okay, I mean, I understand.
Did we not share our guidelines with you guys via email? I'm sorry, I'm asking.
I had the guidelines via email. I
Yes,
didn't realize.
it wasn't clear.
I just
Okay.
didn't,
Thank
so
you, that's
okay, so I remember reading both guidelines, both the street code naming. I don't have everything at my disposal. Right now I'd have to go through my email. I thought that the exception was in both guidelines, but maybe not. And so if you're saying to me that, there is 0 exceptions at the city council level, is the recommendation that I just withdraw this application, and just do this next year?
That is my
Yeah.
recommendation. I don't know if the
Yeah.
rest of the board agrees.
I'm sorry.
I
I'm
wouldn't
sorry.
take a chance.
I
Okay,
just want
that's
to say a couple of things. So, and this goes back to we need to have a discussion on the guidelines. So it seems that there's some type of confusion, and we want to make sure that whatever we edit or draft or update on the guidelines matches city councils, so that we're not having something on our end and then they have something on their end, because our guidelines does say that there are exceptions to the rule. Clearly, city
Yeah.
council doesn't. So if we're passing something in the committee and in the board and it doesn't reflect correctly when it gets to the council, then we're kind of setting people up for failure. And I do not think that's right. So
Yeah.
the discussion, I will probably set up for an agenda in June as a topic that we need to discuss and amend.
Before October application.
Yeah.
So I have another question then. So could I get a definitive answer about the signatures then? Because I specifically tried to get 150 signatures, Angela and I both did, from the corner of where we want to hang the sign.
So I'm gonna, and I'll mention it at the executive committee, so it stays on the record. I am gonna allow that those signatures be used next year around this time when you guys come back. And I'll mention it at the executive committee so that it could be documented as well.
And as
Okay.
parliamentarian of the board, I will support that as well.
It's a lot
Okay.
of work. You
I
guys-
will also note it in the minutes.
Okay, yeah, please.
Should I
please.
clarify that from the 2-block radius? Is that what you wanted to
That's
clarify?
what I just said, yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, and again, they,
And there's more. There's
yeah,
more than
Roy had a
300.
little input of like, sort of, I think holding. Like, they didn't go beyond that, but obviously this affected kids throughout, because kids are coming from all over
yeah,
CB 12 for the stuff, they're not just coming from. Like a distance from the sign, but I feel
Yeah.
like he got a little signal from the office that was a little harsh. And so we seem to have a lot of people saying a lot of different things.
And Roy, we're sincerely sorry for the miscommunication,
Okay,
but
yeah.
we are going to work on this as
yeah. I
a
recommend
committee
just
and make
really
sure
clearing
that
up.
we are revising this so that
Yeah.
it's in alignment, like Leo said, to make sure that it's not a disservice to any of the applicants.
Okay.
But thank you for bearing with us. This is something that's obviously brought to our attention now as we're reviewing these, and we'll try to do the right thing. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Leo.
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll discuss our guidelines in June. I would like to have a offline conversation with the city council's office, with Carmen, to see if there's any exceptions. I know that they have guidelines and she responded to Jamila, but I just want to see. And if anything changes, then we'll obviously open arms invite you back October.
Yeah,
I will
I
keep
appreciate
you
that.
posted, but for now, I'd rather just remove it, but we will be discussing this in June. I think we need to update as soon as possible prior to going before the break, the summer
Okay.
break. Just so. And
Awesome.
I'm sorry
Yeah,
again, Roy,
I'd appreciate you staying in communication with me.
Debbie, thank you again for coming. Yeah, we want to.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Roy.
I don't know. Who's Janea?
Okay,
Who's the woman they were talking about? Janea?
Kiana or Jamila?
No, there was another woman who mentioned who gave information to him about this.
Kiana.
Kiana. Who's that?
She's the, I believe she's chief of staff or director of the New Yorker. What's Kiana's position?
She's the deputy, I always laugh because everybody confuses us. She's the
Yeah.
deputy chief of staff of budget legislation. So she submits the SHE namings at the council level. And obviously I come to the board, make sure that they have all the information. I do remember the meeting with the council member and Kiana, which is why I asked if they got our guidelines, because I know that the community board has a little bit more extra stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Thank you, Jamila.
And I
Thank you,
just wanna-
Jamila.
Thank
I'm
you
sorry.
so much.
Thank you. I just want to add for the record. So I just spoke to Paola, and I will have Paola's back. Paola, anytime any application does come to the board, Paola tells them, hey, these are our guidelines. You're allowed to apply, but if it doesn't fall within our guidelines, understand that there's a chance that it will not pass. So Paola has given that instruction. So I want to put that on the record as well. So our office is doing their job.
Yeah, I can attest to that. That happens a lot in cannabis. So they do what they can.
Their job.
Leo,
All
I
right,
think
so-
it's to the next one. Is that okay with you?
Yes, because we have a
Great.
presentation.
So we'll now be reviewing the Coast Street naming application for William Billy Bang Thomas. We can have the applicant or the person representing come up and share.
Hey.
Hi, how are you? Can you
Good.
please introduce yourself
Yes,
for the record?
how you doing, everybody? My name is Golden Thomas. I'm the son of William Billy Bang Thomas. The reason that I'm submitting this street code naming, sorry, you guys have all the information that
Yes.
I gave? Okay, cool. Thank you.
I haven't seen this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The reason I'm submitting this street code naming application for my father, it's not just because he's my father. It's his impact to the community for over 30 years. Unfortunately, in 1996, in preventing a robbery, he got shot 2 times in the spine and ended up being paralyzed from the waist down. And spent 2 years in the hospital, and in 1998 moved to 1920 Amsterdam Avenue, right on 150, right in between 155th and 156th Street. 156th Street is where we like to have the street naming at. That was the second chapter of his life, and he dedicated it 100% to impacting the kids' lives in a positive way through basketball and through his mentorship and being a father figure to many kids in the neighborhood. Many of the kids that ultimately became my friends to this day, once he moved to that neighborhood, we all became, it's like a brotherhood. He's an amazing man. I don't know if there's anyone like him ever, to be honest, because in that state, I haven't seen many people who have that drive and that willpower to still just that get up and go every morning to train, to coach, to mentor. His passion for basketball has been since he was a kid. He was a great athlete himself. He's a hero. He worked with many programs and created many programs to impact kids' lives in a positive way. Sports was the draw, but ultimately the life lessons that he taught is what stuck with everybody throughout the test of time and how we became the men that we are today. Like in the packet that I had gave, I'm not sure if everybody's seen it, but it was like a couple interviews in there, and some of the former players, but just talking about how that leadership that he gave, it helped him become, and the discipline, it helped him become better men, and they feel proud of where they are today from his guidance. I'm sorry not to get choked up here, but it means something to everybody for him to have a street named after him because of the impact. After he passed away, the neighborhood, it was sad. Like, it wasn't the same. The park that we used to always play in, well, one of the parks, the main park, which is right across the street in PS 28 on 155th Street, the Wright Brothers Playground. You could feel the energy. It wasn't the same no more. That's where we, for over 20 years, that's where we played. That's where we trained. That's where a lot of us became brothers. Throughout his years, he's won numerous awards, trophies, championships. If you played with my father, you pretty much probably could say at some point in time you were a champion, and that doesn't happen for everybody, so that's a beautiful thing. Also, outside of basketball, poetry was also his love. While he was in the hospital, he started writing poetry. some of the poems actually got published. He actually did win an award for, I think it was like the editor's choice for some of his poetry. A lot of having to do with the struggles of society and how people view people in his situation. I know he has one poem entitled like "Overlooked for Sitting," which is kind of like how, you know, some people feel about people that have disabilities and things of that nature. It just, it was so many kids. This neighborhood specifically because that's where he lived, but it goes to the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, New Jersey. We got kids. I have one friend who's a former player. He has he coaches right now, and his dream is that if he is able to gather enough funds at some point and open up a center, he wants to name it after my father. So that just goes to show like the type of impact that he had, that it just means a lot. And it would mean so much for the community and for everybody, that the parents and children that he impacted, to see a street named after him, it would just mean so much to all of our hearts. And a lot of the things that he did for the community, he did for free. You know, there wasn't no checks coming in. You know, it was just off of the strength of his goodwill, his heart and his soul, and just who he is as a human being. You know, from taking us to games, food, sneakers, whatever he could do to assist in having us go from tournament to tournament and be professional, look well, dress well. He also did banquets every year. As in one of the packets I gave, there's some pictures from the banquet. Everybody has on a shirt and tie, because he was all about presentation. He was a sharp dresser, so he wanted us to dress sharp because he sees that, you know, with society and how things are changing with, you know, the kids of today. A lot of kids are not wearing shirts and ties, and they don't even have shirts and ties. Some kids don't even know how to tie a tie, you know, so that was one of his main messages. And just about having manners and respect. One of his things also, I'm not sure if the interview was in the USB that I had gave, but one of the coaches was talking about how one of the players' parents was talking about how his rule was that if you yawned without covering your mouth, you had to do 10 push-ups. And one time the parent of a child yawned without covering his mouth, and he made him do 10 push-ups. So, you know, that's just goes to show the type of person that he was. You know, everybody had to follow the rules. It wasn't just the kids, it was the parents, it was everybody. That's just his energy, his aura, his essence, his vibe. He light up a room when he came through the doors. He spoke very well. He was very articulate. He was a people's person. He was able to network and build a nice community of friends to get a lot of things done for the children in the community. He's missed. And he's my dad, so of course I miss him. But in his passing, I was getting messages from kids that I never even met, because I played with him as he was my coach for a certain amount of time, just because, you know, I got older and I, you know, transitioned out of that. But the younger kids, they were messaging me, saying how much he meant to them, sending me pictures. More parents was coming in. I was getting a lot of messages on Instagram and my direct messages. And it just made me, I was even more in awe of him, because I'm like, wow, I didn't even know. Like, I know him because he's my dad, so of course I'm with him every day, but just the impact when you hear it from other people, it really means a lot to everything he's done. I mean, I got so many words that I could say. But unfortunately, you know, in December of 2022, December 4th, he unfortunately passed away due to health issues. You know, so that's something that, you know, I know we had to wait for 2 years. So I know we have met that mark. So I'm just hoping that you guys look through all the information and you feel as though he's deserving, as myself and the rest of the neighborhood does. It was actually getting the signatures was actually it was great because I seen the love that people have for him. Like when they heard about it, they were just ready to just, give me the pen. Okay, I'll sign, Billy Bang. Oh, that's my favorite coach. You know what I'm saying? And also just who he was in the neighborhood with people. Outside of the kids, just who he was beautiful. He was somebody to be around, somebody to always laugh and joke with, somebody that always made you feel good, and if he had it, you had it. You never had to worry. I remember just at his funeral, one of his friends talked about how he was low on funds, and my father got his check. He said, "Yo, man, I know you're doing bad. You're trying to get your apartment and get yourself situated. My check is your check. Take it, use it for what you got to use it for. Pay me back when you can." That's just the type of person he was. Here I have my uncle is right here. I'm sure he probably has some words to say.
Before we go on to your uncle, I just want to get a quick clarification.
Yes.
You said he was coaching still after he was paralyzed.
No, that's like when the show started.
Oh, wow.
Like, well,
Okay.
well, before that, my father was born in 1957, so he ended up tragically getting shot in 1996. So he's around 39-ish.
Got it.
So once he came out the hospital, which was like a 2-year journey, that I'm thankful that he. That's why I say like the willpower, the determination, because a lot of people, I don't know if they could have did it. It was a lot to be in a hospital for 2 years in that situation, and to gather your thoughts together to the new way of life that you're gonna have to live. You know what I'm saying? From being on your 2 feet to being the guy everybody knows, to knowing that now it's totally different and that people may look at you differently. And can you still maintain that same energy that you once had? And he did it. And from 1998 on, his life was strictly dedicated towards the kids. One of the gyms he worked out of was on 135th Street, and he might have been there every morning at 6 a.m. For a certain point in time. I used to live with him, and I would hear him getting ready at 6, and that's before I had to even get up to go to school. And like every day for years, so like that's why I say the brotherhood that me and my friends have is different, because we always go back to the stories of the gym and the stories of the park. And one interview that I didn't get to put in there because it was taking a while to edit, one of my friends, former player, that he lives on in like a building around the corner on 155th Street. He said, "Man, I used to hate walking up the block, and if Billy was outside, he'd be like, 'Come on, let's go to the park.' He's like, 'Billy, but I'm about to go hang out with my friend. Come on, let's go to the park. Let's work out.'" You know what I'm saying? And that's who he was. He was somebody that there's people that are older that once you start talking to them, it's hard to get away. And he was one of those people. And it was all positive. It was all seeing how everybody was doing, how your grades was, making sure that you were doing well in school, respecting your parents, just everything that a parent that if you couldn't be around your kid, you felt comfortable that my father was around your child. You know what I'm saying? Because he was the father figure for the moment in time that you wasn't there. And you know that you were safe. Because his respect and his reputation, everybody showed him love. So you know that your children receive the same love because of who he was. Yeah, so from 1998, when he moved to 1920 Amsterdam Avenue on 155th, 156, strictly dedicated to coaching the children. From the wheelchair, paralyzed from the waist down, it didn't change a thing. And that's what was the most amazing thing, because, and even in speaking to people afterwards, and some of the pictures I gave, I created like a museum for my dad, like a bunch of pictures, all his trophies, which is so many. I have 2 shopping carts full of trophies in storage right now, and some plaques and so many awards. Even an award from 1989 about community outreach from what he was doing in the Bronx back then. So, and even one of the kids, he had told me that, which I knew, but you know, sometimes when somebody's your parent, you just see them as your parent, but like when other people tell you things, it makes it more special. And he was saying, just like in the neighborhood, it was a thing if you played for my dad, like you had to be good because, you know, we were going around different tournaments and winning. They're like, yo, you play for Billy Bang? Oh, you don't play for Billy Bang, you're not good. You know, it's just it was that type of thing. So it was fun, it was enjoyable. I'm glad that so many hundreds, probably thousands of kids got to experience him from 1998 to, you know, his unfortunate passing in 2022. You know, he got sick in June of 2022. And until then, he was still mentoring, coaching, training, working out. You know, that was his thing for over 30 years. He did it arguably better than anybody.
Thank you.
So what was the league he was in? What basketball league was it?
There was many from the Central Park League to Nike Swoosh to the Junior Knicks to
So I see a lot of signatures from Community Health Academy.
right. That's
Did he coach there?
a school in the neighborhood that he worked out with a lot of the kids.
Do you know Von Stennett
Uh,
from Cloth?
I know of Ron.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I used to work in the neighborhood as well. So yeah, I mean, I know her. I know of her. You know, I don't know her like on a
Okay.
hey, how you doing? You know, but
I bet your dad came across her at one point.
yeah, actually,
She's been there for 30 years.
I was speaking to, I think her son's name is JP.
Yeah, JP. I know
Yeah,
JP.
yeah, and he was saying
He's at the high school.
right, and I had when I had the signatures and the
Yeah,
petition.
I see a lot of them.
Right, I had and he's like, yeah, my mom knows your dad, like she knows Billy, like, you know, I wasn't aware because, you know, of course they're older than me. I'm not sure everybody that he's crossed paths with, but he said that yeah, she knows him, and you know, it was all love, and even the one bookstore on 155th, like Sisters.
Soul Sisters.
Yes. She had she said, "Oh yeah, I know your dad." She didn't know he was my dad because a lot of people don't know, like, you know, because if you didn't see us together, you might not know. She's like, "Oh, I didn't know that was his dad. He used to always, you know, come past, say hello, very polite, nice." And she had some petitions. I mean, she had some signatures done as well. So yeah, it was all love in the community. You know,
I want to interrupt
no,
you,
no,
but I
go
want to
ahead.
give your uncle some time to speak
Right,
before we
yeah.
move on, because
Right.
it's about to be 9:30.
Okay, no problem.
But thank you so much for sharing everything that you've shared.
Thank you.
Good job.
Uncle, if you can just please say your name, and then if you can, I know, Billy Bang sounds wonderful, but if you can keep it to about a minute and a half, that would be great. We can't hear you, unfortunately. Oh, no. We still can't hear you. Do you want to call him in? He
Yeah.
can, yeah, and then he can just say it while we see him. He'd be so tough. See. In the meantime, if there's anyone else that would like to share just a few words. Okay. I don't know if there was anyone else.
Yeah.
Okay, we can hear you now. Were you able to hear me earlier?
So I'm gonna have to turn this down.
That's fine, no worries.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
So,
I'm sorry, can you just start off with your name, please, for the record?
Saeed Dean,
Thank you, Saeed.
and I'm the brother of the prospective honoree. For the street to be co-named after him. So what I would like to convey is that William Billy Bang Thomas was actually a hero. He was a hero in the community. He had an impact. He saved lives, including my own. He taught us about how to aspire to be great. Of course, you don't know this, but he helped raise me and Rod Strickland, who used to play for the New York Knicks. He gave counseling to Kyrie Irving. who was like a family member to us. He was just a wonderful human being. He had an impact on the community at large. And I would just like to say that just the consideration of him being honored by your committee and by the city council. I think the city council actually honored him at one point as well. So they would know him, know who he is. There's so many superlatives that I can say, and not just because he was my brother, but he was a wonderful individual who always tried to impact the lives of others, and he did that. He did that well. Because of him, I went on to play college basketball, got a college education, got a degree. Rod Strickland did the same because of his influence. So I just want to thank the committee for considering honoring him at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Saeed.
You're welcome.
If there's no one else that wants to share some words, and I think we can head to a discussion, Leo, if that's okay with you.
Yes, that's it. Let's initiate. Let's start it.
Anyone has any comments? I'm just happy that we have someone that meets both qualifications or both of the criterias. So we don't have to turn someone away just for the purposes of our guidelines. He passed away in December of 2022.
Yes.
And has contributed obviously way more than 10 years into the community.
So I'm sorry, Carmen, it's Leo. I don't have the application in front of me, and I checked through my emails and I can't seem to find it either. If you can, and thank you, Golden, for coming in and advocating on behalf of your dad. I'm also a basketball coach in the community, coach a lot of kids in this community. So I'm very passionate with these kinds of things, and I can relate to your father. So I'm glad something like this is coming to the board so that we can consider it. My question to you is there any leagues in particular within the community, within Washington Heights or Inwood, that he coached, and what was the impact? I know you mentioned a few different leagues and schools, and I know that he has years of trajectory of doing so, but any specific ones in our community?
In the community? Okay, go ahead.
Can you say,
Oh,
can you just say it loud, put it on speaker?
I'll answer that as well, but this is fine. Yeah, you can hear you.
Yeah, the New York Gauchos honors him. He coached with them. Rucker Park has honored him as well. So that should be relayed. And the famed Rucker, the regular Rucker, Holcomb Rucker, he's hosting that as well. Just in case you didn't know, because you couldn't remember. But
No. Yeah, I'm very aware with Gauchos and Rucker. Gauchos is in the Bronx though, and Rucker is further in Harlem. I just want to know any direct. So when we discuss and then if we do decide to pass it, we write a resolution. I want to make sure to include those organizations within our community, giving it more strength, giving the application more strength, which is why I asked if there's any specific team or organization within Washington Heights and Inwood that he coached.
He's coached
Mentoring, it could be mentoring as well.
Coached and mentored like all the kids in the neighborhood. You have Miss Denise Allstar. She has her tournament. He has coached in Inwood before, like in Inwood, like the tournament itself. I'm trying to think. He's coached with me in the UBA in Washington Heights. That's the adults league, but it's, still coaching. I'm trying to think some more. Yeah, I mean the Rucker is just because it's on 155th Street, so it's right in the neighborhood. He's in the Hall of Fame out there. Used to work with the School Skills in Riverbank every Sunday for over 20 years. Trying to think some more. I remember the Wahi tournament with Luis Guzman. They don't have it anymore, but it was a tournament that lasted quite a few years. Probably the PAL probably, as well.
Wasn't he at the Armory PAL?
Yeah, I think they had some tournaments in the Armory. Trying to think of some more in the neighborhood, exactly in the neighborhood. They have another tournament called Uptown Showdown, and it's in the Sunken Playground on 165th and Edgecombe. Also coached and trained out of there. Many of the kids from that park as well. Highbridge as well on 175th. Coached and trained, many of the kids out there when they had their tournament going. Trying to think of some more parks from the neighborhood. Like Battlegrounds right on 151st. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of it. Basically, he's basically coaching all the parks in the neighborhood, for the most part, that has tournaments going on in them, and or just trained or brought kids or created his own kind of like, I'll bring some guys and then we'll play versus the guys from the next neighborhood or the next park, together to create like just a camaraderie of competition. But basically every tournament in the neighborhood, he was in it from 98 to 2022. He at some point in time, he was involved.
Leo, did you hear all of that?
Yeah, no, yes, I am. And I actually know Domingo from UBA. I coached for him, the youth. So yeah, he knows you. He knows of your dad's contributions.
I'm sorry, can you just repeat that? Did you just say that Domingo, you confirm with
Yeah,
Domingo?
yeah, because he mentioned UBA, and I actually help and coach UBA the kids. So
Yeah, like
Domingo as well.
CB12.
In the adult league, we won the championship before in the UBA. Like I was a player, my father was coaching.
Oh, cool, very cool.
So it seems, Leo, I just wanted to make a quick comment. You had mentioned stuff about specifically in the community. I think this one's interesting because your dad contributed to organizations and people in Harlem and Washington Heights, and where he lives is basically at the borderline.
That's right.
So it technically falls within CB12. And your dad has also done a lot in our community as well, but he lives technically on the line of CB12.
But
as opposed to
156 is a block up.
Is a block up. So I totally understand that, but that was just my only comment. Does anyone else have any other comments? Anyone else has anything to say? Can we move to a vote, Leo? Mary, do you have anything to say? Jim, do you have anything to say?
I think
No, I have nothing to add.
I agree with, I think, some remarks we've already heard that this gentleman is eminently appropriate to have a street co-named after him.
Yeah. Thank you. And who else? Are there any other CB12 members that are on the call that would like to share some words? Otherwise, we're going to move forward to voting. Okay, I guess we move forward.
I think.
Oh, Tanisha, were you trying to say something? You're muted.
Yeah, I was multitasking. Hold on, Giselle. Yeah, so this is my community, where he's talking about. And yes, I agree. I second what Jim says. I think this would be a perfect candidate. I ain't on a committee or nothing. I don't get no vote. But as second vice chair, I'm just saying that I agree with Jim. Okay.
I got a question.
Where's
the nickname come from?
You guys are muted. We can't hear you, Nicole. I'm sorry, you guys are muted. We can't hear on our end.
Sorry.
It's basketball talk. Leo.
Bruce asked where, I'm
Oh,
sorry,
sorry.
Bruce asked where the nickname comes from, Billy Bang. And his son was just sharing that it comes from him shooting threes.
And it was a neighborhood that they gave him when he was younger coming up, and it stuck with him. And interestingly enough, when I first started playing in the Rucker, every time I would make a shot, they would say bang bang. Like it was funny, like it was cool. I felt cool, that they knew that was my dad, and every time I scored, they would say bang bang. So it was cool. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a great name, and that was a great question.
So can I move that we accept this?
Yeah.
Second.
Well, let's vote on it. Let's vote on it.
Okay, let's
We just did. Oh,
Uh,
sorry. Sorry, Leo.
So, yeah, well, no,
Yeah.
no worries. Let's take roll call so we can vote, and then we'll discuss
Okay.
the resolution after.
We
All right,
have, we have a quorum, right?
We do have
Yeah,
four.
we do. We do.
So I'll just call Leo,
I vote yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Jody,
Yes.
myself, Carmen, I vote yes. Bruce,
Bang, bang.
bang, bang.
Yes.
Yes, okay, looks like all in favor.
Okay, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Perfect.
Leo, you're,
Yes, if you can get Golden's email or phone number, just
Yeah.
to write the resolution again, when we take it to the board, we want to ensure that we include the organizations worked
Yeah.
with,
Yeah,
other ones in our community and the name of the leagues, and just so
Right.
that we go up against the board or up and present in front of the board, we let him know that his impacts were imminent in our community specifically. Again, I know that it's right on the cusp of Harlem and Washington Heights, but we want to make sure that we emphasize, especially if we're naming a street in our district. So if you can just get that information for me so I can add it to the resolution, I'll be reaching out to you in the next myself or Carmen will be reaching out to you in the next couple of days so that we can have the information for the resolution.
thank you so much, and congratulations. Jamila also said congratulations online, and she's from the council member's office.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, so that concludes that part of our meeting. We still have one more part to go. Thank you all so much for your patience.
Yeah, so is Emily Shingay from Open Plans online? I know it's been a long night. She might have.
Emily, you're here. Wow, this is you. Wow, thank you
Yes,
so
yeah.
much, Emily, for being here with us, for being patient. We didn't anticipate this meeting to be so long, but as you see, it's something that's important in our community and something that's very heartfelt. So,
I'm sorry, Carmen. Before Emily presents, I know Sage Hamilton Hazarika. He's from the Underground Railroad Consortium, and they wanted to come this month in support of a Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad byway, which you guys might have heard about at the last general board meeting, if not the one in February. Unfortunately, we won't discuss it tonight. We'll allow him for new business to kind of give us a quick overview of it. We're gonna entertain that resolution in June. May we have a potential forum with the health committee and another committee. I'm sorry, the health and public safety, I believe, where we'll be discussing the open plazas and the quality of life issues. So, Sage, we'll let you towards the end of the meeting and new business just kind of give us some details on it, but then we will be inviting you in June so that we can pass a resolution in support of this.
I was already opening Chrome. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
All right, so yeah, Emily, thank you for coming. Emily's been reaching out to me for the last couple of months. I know we've had a couple of public members attend our meeting and have advocated strongly for universal daylighting. I know that there's some kind of city council conversation happening at the end of the month in support of a couple of these bills. So we want to discuss it here, then we'll discuss after if we want to pass a resolution.
Yes, if you can just start directing those names of the ones in Washington Heights specifically, that would be very.
Jim, we're also, sorry, Leo, we're only
Take care, have a good night.
one of two community districts that have not passed a resolution in support in Manhattan.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, Adam, correct. Yeah, we're one of the only two.
Yeah.
And Emily has said some, like you, I know you mentioned in past meetings.
Yeah,
Emily
and our
as well.
council member has signed on.
And hopefully tonight we work on something, but I have a good feeling.
Okay. Awesome. Hi, Emily. You can just introduce yourself for the record, and thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Of course. Hi, my name is Emily Chingay. I'm the community organizer at Open Plans. We are a nonprofit here in the city advocating for safer streets, more public spaces, and an equitable and sustainable New York City overall. So really excited. Thank you for the opportunity to present. I will be as brief as I can. Be excited to present on this street safety design called Universal Daylighting. I'll share some examples of what that looks like here in New York City and just a little more context on the design.
Thank you. Good night. All right.
So this is a quick example of what universal daylighting could look like here in your neighborhood. This is 170th Street and Amsterdam Avenue. In the before picture, you could see that vans and trucks could really park as close as they can to the crosswalk, making it unsafe for pedestrians, even for the drivers themselves to see who's coming and who is crossing the street. And by opening that space up and preventing any sort of visual obstruction, it makes it safer for all road users. And as you can see here, it is much easier for the pedestrian to see who's approaching, same with the vehicle. So what is daylighting? Universal daylighting is a street design where visual obstructions that are closest to an intersection are removed. This helps provide more visibility, as mentioned before, for all cyclists, pedestrians and drivers, and it's been proven to reduce collisions at these intersections. So in the next slide, you can see from the driver's point of view, by removing that visual obstruction, which is oftentimes a car that might be parked at the crosswalk or even way past almost at the intersection, by removing it, the driver's visibility dramatically improves, and then that space could then be repurposed to be to benefit the community as a whole. It could be trash containerization. Here it is a rain garden, and that helps with flood mitigation. As we know, New York City has been getting some extreme weather, and it's only going to get more.
I'm sorry, can you just
extreme.
walk us quickly through the three photos?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
guess I only see the difference in the last one, but
Mhm.
maybe I'm just tired.
No,
I'm
it's
sorry.
okay. It's okay. So in the before picture, cars are able to park as close as possible.
I see that.
You could open it up and then you could repurpose it. By
Got it.
repurposing it, you're benefiting the community, and then also, providing some beautification on the intersection. And again, it has been proven to reduce collisions at these intersections.
Thank you.
So there's currently a state law that requires all intersections in New York State to be daylit. However, New York City is able to override this law, so they're exempt from it. But there is a city law that does require the New York City Department of Transportation to daylight at least 100 intersections a year. A couple of years ago, 2 years ago now, there were a number of fatalities and accidents at intersections, especially among young children. And so the mayor made a commitment to bump up that original 100 intersections a year goal to 1,000. And then in the next slide, as of August 2024, only 314 of those 1,000 intersections were daylit, and this is the breakdown by borough. So really not reaching those goals that they had initially promised to do so. So because of this, a lot of advocacy groups have been organizing around this. Community organizations, community boards as well have been passing resolutions to support this street safety design. And because of all of this advocacy that's been happening, Councilmember Wan introduced a bill that would remove New York City's exemption and require New York City to follow the law and daylight all intersections. There's a hearing on April 21st at 10 a.m. on this bill, which is why we're really trying to get the word out and let people know that this is happening. There's also a state bill as well with Senator Harlan Segal and Assemblymember Simon to again enforce this at the state level. So we know that over 51% of traffic fatalities and 68% of injuries happen at intersections. There's many conflict points, again, from all different points of view, whether you're a driver, cyclist, or pedestrian. So by opening it up, it's great for the community as a whole. Next slide, please. These are a couple of benefits. The visibility reduces crowding at sidewalks, protects ADA accessibility. So by closing in that intersection a bit, it allows for, some of our most vulnerable road users to be able to cross the street in a safe manner. It's great for seniors who sometimes are not able to, reach the light in time. This makes it a lot shorter and safer for them to cross. And then again, that space could then be repurposed to be a public amenity. So this is some crash statistics from Crash Mapper that I pulled for Community Board 12. In the last year, there have been 557 total crashes in the Community Board, 732 injuries, and 4 fatalities in Community Board 12 in the last year alone. Again, many of these accidents with safe street designs can be prevented. And then I pulled data for the past 7 years because across the river, Hoboken has been able to achieve Vision Zero by adding some safe street designs, including daylighting. And in the past 7 years, they have had 0 fatalities. And here's another example. No, it's okay. I mean, well, yes. So just to show that there have been a number of accidents as well. A lot more in the last 7 years, but in Hoboken, there have been 0 fatalities for contact. So again, designs that could help the community. This is another example in the neighborhood. This has flex posts, paint, planters. The planters serve as physical protection, and it's a great short-term solution to, enforce it without having to ticket anyone or, cars just know that they cannot park here. And then in the next slide as well, this is another example that just shows makes it easier for cars to make a turn. So some short-term examples include the paint, the lane markings, flex posts, planters, granite blocks. This is something that DOT is already doing throughout the city. And it is a cost-effective way to add daylighting to every neighborhood. However, this is something that we advocate for, but we're always looking for long-term improvements that in the next slide include bioswales, bike corrals, benches, concrete curb extensions, trash recycling containers, those metal bollards. And this is just, it helps with that physical protection. You don't have to worry about whether or not it'll be enforced. And it again provides more community benefits. So in the past year and a half, thanks. In the past 2 years, we have been working with community organizations. We have been going to community boards to present on this topic, just to let people know that this is a design, and if they've seen it around their neighborhood, providing some education. But we also have a resolution that in the past year, 22 community boards representing over 3 billion New Yorkers have passed resolutions in support. We're in 4 out of the 5 boroughs, always working on Staten Island, but yes, and there's also, a hearing coming up next week and or the following week, I'm sorry. So really, again, trying to build that support citywide for this to show City Council that this is something that neighbors really care about and it's a public safety issue. So thank you for the opportunity to present. I'm going to open it up to any questions.
So how many intersections in CB 12 do we need to fix?
Well, it would be a number of intersections.
Like
but
100 or 200 or 300?
So I believe it would be
total at the moment that have
Can you
been.
repeat that?
We have 8 total at the moment that have been updated in the last year by DOT. I believe they're
One of those being on 168th
allowed for
Street.
another 6 this year. But in essence, we would like all our intersections to be
Yes,
completed.
right. It would be really up to DOT to decide, where they want to do it, at what rate they would want to do this at. But something that I will note is a lot of the times DOT can be a bit reactive with the way that they approach their street designs. A lot of times they'll wait for a fatality to occur at the intersection or, you know, a horrendous accident before, you know, going back and looking at it and deciding to add these designs. And so what we're really encouraging the Department of Transportation and neighbors to do is to be a little bit more proactive and not wait for something tragic in the community.
We would love that.
Yeah.
I have a question. I think this is great. All for it. Excited. I'm curious to know how many parking spots will be affected by this. If you've ever at all looked at it, are people saying anything about that? 'Cause I'm assuming since they can't park, I'm assuming that's like 2 parking spots at least in every intersection. Would just love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah,
I'll let her answer
absolutely.
that too.
That's a great question. I think every day lit intersection looks a little bit different, as you know, might have seen throughout the city. So I really can't, that would be more of a DOT question, I would say. But I will say that this is something that, you know, it benefits the drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians alike. We've had numerous conversations with community boards across the city, even out as far as Community Board 13 in Queens, which borders Long Island. And there's a lot of drivers. It's, you know, a little bit more residential. And they've all agreed that this is really a public safety issue that, you know, if they have to give up maybe a couple parking spots or, you know, if they have to give one up on their block, it's worth it for the greater good of the community. Last year, we presented to Community Board 11 in East Harlem, and the chair, you know, at the meeting, she immediately said, for everybody, this is a public safety issue. This is for everybody. She was coming from the perspective, like, as a driver, and she still, you know, recognized that it was for the greater good.
I'm just curious to see if there was any data on that, but you don't have that. So I guess that's a.
DOT would probably have some more context.
Thank you so much.
I just want to say that.
Can you just state your name for the record?
Sorry, for the record, my name is Gabriel.
I'm sorry, before Gabriel continues, we're gonna allow the public members to say one comment under a minute, and that's of time. It's 9:45.
Yeah.
It's been a long night. So Gabriel, make your comment snazzy. You have about 2 minutes and then we'll move on.
I thought you said 1 minute.
1 minute.
No, go ahead.
90 seconds, 90 seconds.
So basically, okay, a lot of the
1 minute and a
conversation
half.
comes from people wanting to park their cars, right? And so you're like, oh, what about the parking spots, right? But with the daylit intersections, a lot of times what you can do is you can put bike parking. And so for every car parking that you lose, you can put like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bikes in that space. So now residents who are on the fence about like whether they should keep their car now or get one, they can have a bike there instead. And you can fit a lot more in that area. So yes, there might be some more competition for those spots, but there's also, you're gonna open up a lot, exponentially more spots for those areas. Also, as somebody who recently went to Hoboken this past weekend, the level of safety increase you get from not having to cross as far is like, you literally half the distance that you have to cross the street, which makes it's a really important thing for like elderly people and just anybody in general who walks slowly. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you.
Why did New York City get exempt from the state law?
They were able to be exempt because they have over 1 million residents, and it was more of a loophole thing. It wasn't really, I don't think.
And what can we do to push this legislation through?
Yeah, great question. So there's going to be a hearing, and I can follow up with the district manager and the chair with more information on this. But there's going to be a hearing, and you can submit a written testimony, or you can even show up to speak in person. Although I imagine it might be quite a long meeting. But really, just showing support. If you want to call your council member, if you really, just getting the word out as well, I think would be.
Fred, I see your hand, but I saw Jim. Jim, you have something to share, and then we'll go to Fred.
Yes, thank you very much. I believe, and I don't want to do it tonight because it's late and I'm already home, that we should pass a resolution on this next month. And the other thing, which I think is inherent with what was mentioned to us, and then this is what DOT does, is that there should be obviously some priority with certain intersections which are more dangerous, obviously being done before others. And that I would expect, or I would like to have in our resolution. Thank you.
It's a great idea, Jim.
I think schools should be a priority, intersections that are near schools. especially the little kids, they're even harder to see.
I think that's a good idea. I think they were already done by 168th Street. There's a school there and they have already redone that sidewalk. Fred, and then I see Felipe online, and then I think that ends all our comments.
I just have a couple of comments.
Fred, I'm sorry, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Fred Sofa. There's been 3 intersections daylit in my immediate vicinity, one at 183rd and Pinehurst, and 2 at 186 and Cabrini. 186 is also Alex Rose Way, 18. It's great, they're not effective. The secondary markings and short-term remediations that Chingay brought up have not been implemented at any of those 3. And so there's always somebody parked at them overnight. And
Oh, wow.
I also have a whole picture set. I would say that they stay somewhere between 75 and 80% filled on a 24-hour cycle. So perhaps within the resolution, we could make some advancement that daylighting is great, and because we live in CB12, there must be a way to ensure that a car cannot park there.
Thank you for that. Felipe, and I think that would be our last comment, unless someone who hasn't.
Yeah.
Okay, last comment. Felipe, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes, and can you introduce yourself?
Great. Yeah, Felipe Castillo. I work in CB12 and I'm on CB9 on the transportation committee there. And we passed this daylighting resolution back in September, and it passed unanimously almost unanimously in our transportation committee, and then almost unanimously in the general board. So I just want to encourage CB12 to join us. It's great for safety. You know, it's a super important public safety issue, and yeah, just want to support you all.
Thank you, Felipe. 30 seconds.
yeah,
Introduce yourself.
My name is Peter Reeves. I live in CB12. There's multiple intersections where I live in Inwood that are extremely dangerous, especially when I go and walk my dog. I have to walk almost into the middle of the street, like on Seaman Avenue to cross, to check if there's cars coming. Because you never know, like, you know, not everyone follows the law, and you see red lights being run all the time. So just because it says walk, doesn't mean it's safe to walk. So universal daylighting would make it safer for everyone. And like, Fred said, I would love to see hardened universal daylighting rather than soft measures, because as he sees and as I've seen in my neighborhood on the intersections that have been daylit and it's in a soft way, it's really not effective. So I want to see, and I would love to see it in the resolution, hardened daylighting.
Thank you, Peter. All right, I think if no one else has any more comments, I think we'll, thank you so much. We'll move on from this conversation. Emily, thank you so much for staying with us all night. We really appreciate it. And I think the consensus is that we'll discuss this and,
Yeah,
especially
so
draft a resolution.
yeah, so before we move on, so I think that it merits more discussion. Obviously, we don't have the time tonight, and Emily has been great. She's shared the presentation, she's shared the resolutions that other boards have passed as well. So we'll be using a lot of the details from that resolution if we decide to pass it. I think it's something necessarily hardened. I wouldn't say that I would be all for it. I do think there's certain intersections, especially the ones by schools, hospitals, senior centers, that we should take a strong consideration. I also wanted Lyle to give his input, as he did in the previous meetings, just to see what DOT is doing in our area specifically in the next few months, see if there's anything, traction coming or anything. But he jumped off the car. It's been a long night. So we will discuss this in more detail. Emily, I'll connect with you offline. I would like to possibly attend, if not, at least jump online for that city council hearing at the end of the month. So we'll have some more discussion, and then we'll bring it up again in June. In May, unfortunately, we have a forum with the health committee and with public safety. So we'll be entertaining something else then. But again, I think it's something that we need to kind of get at the forefront, especially if we're behind, right? We're part of the last 2 boards to really vote on this. So
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could definitely touch base offline. And I can send you all of that information in a follow-up with the city council details and other ways to kind of take action on this if interested.
Yes, awesome.
I
Thank
think
you.
we're all interested. Great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And again, she's
Thank
been great. She's been reaching out and partnering and just kind of giving us an overview, a much needed overview. So we'll continue the discussion. I do think it's something that we need to get behind.
Amazing. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Leo, it's about to be 10 o'clock. Is there anything
Yeah, so
urgent that we
real
have to
quick,
discuss?
business Felipe, I know you jumped on and we wanted to follow up on the resolution passed by your board in regards to the proposed bike lane on 155th Street. Again, we'll have some more internal discussions. Unfortunately, we won't be able to discuss too much tonight because of the time. I think it's pretty late. But you did forward me the resolution, and I'll partner with Bruce and I believe Jody, who live around that area and proposed something to cover our neighborhood. So we'll discuss that more hopefully in June. That's old business, and for new business, we have Sage. I'm not sure if he's online. He waited
I
quite a
see
while.
that Sage is still online.
If you can promote him for a couple minutes, again, we'll discuss to pass a resolution in June. This is for the Harriet Tubman byway that you mentioned a couple months ago at the general board meeting, and we want to be able to support this. I think this is a great idea, and it do so many things. Like it will promote jobs, so increase in jobs. Give us some more information, commemorate this area, which is significant. So yeah, Sage, if you want to say a couple words, and then we'll discuss offline because I do want to make sure that we speak about this in the future.
Absolutely. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you to the community board and also my condolences to the families of the departed, Leo Danetta and William Billy Bank Thompson. It was very moving to hear those presentations, and I wish you all the best with the naming. I represent the Underground Railroad Consortium of New York State. It's a nonprofit organization that represents about 40 different Underground Railroad history sites. I work remotely for them out of Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, and I'm happy to bring the initiative to our neighborhood. This would be a 550-mile scenic byway if designated by New York State, and it would connect a lot of different Underground Railroad history sites, museums, and recreation areas. Basically, it follows the story of freedom seekers like Harriet Tubman, and it promotes the story of the Underground Railroad, but specifically from the perspective of freedom seekers and the free Black communities that helped them. So what we're following, we're inspired by the various scenic byways that exist in Maryland, Delaware, and Pennsylvania. And those are recognized at the national level. But New York State had so much of her story, specifically in Auburn, New York, where she spent her life after her service in the Civil War. And we also have the point where she crossed over into freedom in Niagara Falls, New York. So what we're doing is we have a volunteer internal planning committee. We have a volunteer steering committee representing the 22 counties that this would go through. And we're at the stage where we're writing up the corridor management plan that will propose to New York State DOT that says, if we get this designated, we want it to promote, we want it to support community initiatives. We want to increase tourism to history sites, but we want that tourism to benefit local communities. So we will keep community boards and municipalities updated about what we're doing, and we want the input of what community organizations and historic sites that are in CB12 and all of the other municipalities that we're reaching through. So thankfully, we've achieved success in resolutions from a number of other municipalities at the town level, village level, and county level, including cities like Buffalo and Auburn. And then most recently, we got approval from the general board of CB9 to pass the resolution. And the details of the resolution are basically that your community would support the designation of the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad byway as as something that's worth it at the state level. and that we would work together as the Underground Railroad Consortium and CB12 to make sure that community needs are met, and that you would work with the other municipalities that this would go through. So we would imagine it would improve quality of life. It would work towards preserving the historical sites that are in your community. And the one ask that we have of the resolution is that you would refrain from permitting future what's called off-site signage, but really that just means billboards. And because in your community or in your community area, this route would go on the Henry Hudson Parkway anyway, I think there's already a moratorium on billboards there. So please let me know if you have any questions about this. I'm happy to send even more information and take any questions in the future, or if you have time tonight. But trying to keep it short. But thank you again for the time to talk further with your committee about this.
So, Dej, thank you again, and I'm sorry about the time. It's just we will have myself, you, and Carmen will have offline conversations, and we want to invite you in June formally, so you can present on this, and then we can discuss and pass a resolution in June. I remember when you mentioned it at the general board meeting, seemed to have everybody excited about it. I'm excited about it. I know Carmen's been a very, very big advocate in bringing it back to the table. So we do want to make sure that we entertain this and give it the light that it needs. Tanisha, I see your hand raised.
Bruce, wait, can we let Bruce go first? He has a quick question and then go to Tanisha. I don't know if you can see his hand here. Go ahead, Bruce.
Sage, thank you. Are you aware of 857 Riverside, the abolitionist house there? That's been undergoing protection, trying to get it saved for the last 5 years.
I feel like I've heard of it in the news, but I would love to pay more attention to it.
We'll put you in touch. There's an organization called SaveRiverside.org that's been working on it to get finances, because the developer bought it and it didn't go anywhere. So there's a lot of people who've been working to save that house for many years. So we'll put you in touch with the people.
Absolutely. That's exactly the kind of initiative that we hope that this byway would bring attention to. And then it can even be written within your maybe resolution or future resolution, that if that's something that CB12 wanted to make sure that incoming tourism, that would be a result of this byway, benefit, some percentage of ticket sales or whatever, go towards the Save 857 Riverside organization. That could be something that you include as a provision that is local to your community board, that we write into our corridor management plan for the recommendations we would make to New York State DOT.
Okay, thank you. Leo has your contact?
Yes, it's sage@urcnys.org. And I'll send all my stuff.
And I'll forward it to you as well, Bruce.
Okay, thank you.
Tanisha.
Yeah, I just was just like, I know that we that y'all had did a resolution on some churches and the issues with parking on Sunday. I just want to lift that issue up and maybe start us thinking about as a community board, right? And another resolution to cover all of the places of worship that are suffering right now. We have a lot of churches that are landmarks in our community, and parishioners are not coming to church because of the excessive parking tickets that they are getting. So yeah, we really need to do something about that, because it's really a really big problem in our community. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Tanisha. So we're actually in contact with Deacon Jackson for that church on 155th Street. And we're going to meet with DOT and MTA to see if we can remove some parking to allow parking for the clergy and for the community, the church patrons. And we'll be willing and open to actually look at it. It has to be requested by the church so that we can reach out to DOT and say, hey, DOT, this is what we want. But once we get that, we'll be glad to pass a resolution in the committee to give support so that DOT reconfigures the curb space to help boost or increase church participation. Like you said, it's dropped significantly across the board, and it's not fair that parishioners are coming into worship and not able to do so because we have some greed in our city. All
Yeah,
right.
I'll just say it's very tone deaf of our, governor to even put a policy like this in place for our communities.
Yeah, you know how it goes. All right, Carmen. Again, I want to thank everyone. Carmen, you and the committee did an amazing job with everything going on tonight, and hearing these testimonies is not easy to sit there and still have to abide by our guidelines. That pulls away from the human side of us. But I appreciate you guys. I'm sorry I wasn't able to be there today. It won't happen again anytime soon. I just got caught up with work. But I look forward to see you guys in person, and we'll continue to discuss.
You were missed. Motion to adjourn. Anyone? Great. Seconded.
Have a
All
good
right.
evening, everyone. Thank you again.
Adjourned at
Hey, Jim,
10:03.
feel better, Jim. We miss having you in
Thank you,
person.
everyone. Have a
Good
good
to see
night.
you, Jim.